Good evening and welcome to the 2015 Peekskill election debate. What we'd like to do right away, as should be done on occasions such as this, is ask you to please rise so we all can turn to the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Needless to say, or it should be needless to say, this is a World Series opening game night, and we have a pretty darn good crowd here. So, but let's go Mets, if you're not from Kansas City. So, just to get going, I have the usual request in our age. Vinny, it wasn't to take your hat off, no, but thank you. To please either turn off or put your cell phones on vibrate. We would ask that in any case, but especially since this is being televised live and it will be available for later viewing. I'll give you more information on that in a moment. We want to make sure that there's no cell phones going off in the middle. I hope mine doesn't either. So I think I don't have to tell anybody here or watching that tonight's debate is for the Common Council election and the mayoral election next Tuesday, 1 week from tonight, November 3rd. For the city of Peekskill. And I just want to let you know as I get into this that I have a lot of housekeeping, but I always feel it's necessary at a debate to make sure everybody is aware of what the rules are and what the game plan is and what's about to happen, so there's no misunderstanding on either side or sides as the debate goes on. And I just want to thank what happens to be my former company, Chase Media Group, which is the home of Chase Press you see on the wall, and the Penny Saver for sponsoring tonight's debate. And it's produced by Mike Miner of MGM Television, who is in his truck right now for the live transmission, but his crew is in the back with 2 cameras. And I want to thank Mike because he's put a tremendous amount of work into this. And I'm co-producing it with him, my marketing agency, Apar Media, and I just want to make sure everybody knows so there's no misunderstanding. We are not getting paid for this. We're donating our services, and especially in Mike's case, that's a lot that he's donating in terms of all of his equipment and expertise, and so I want to really publicly thank him very much. And with that, we also need to say, and some people may not agree or understand this, but just please trust me, that no taping of the event may be made by anyone other than MGM Television. And the reason for that quickly is that, we'd rather not have loose copies out there or loose video that can be edited, which frankly, to be honest about it, if somebody wants to copy it off the TV when it's on, we can't control that, but we can control the point of origination. So that's what that's about. It's being televised live on the Peekskill Government Channel 78 Cablevision, and the channel on Verizon Fios is 28 for the government channel. And it also can be viewed online at cityofpeekskill.com. It'll be available for viewing after the debate on cityofpeekskill.com and on social media and on other sites, including peekskillpost.net. And I just want to acknowledge somebody I work with, Brian Fumagalli, who's doing a great job with peekskillpost.net, is here with us to cover it tonight as well. And thanks also are in order to City Manager Richard Lyons, who I met with a week or 2 ago to help plan this, and his staff, and to Joe Minerly of the Department of Public Works. And by the way, to everyone who submitted questions, there must be close to 40 questions that were submitted by a lot of people, and I really thank you for that. There should be no doubt, not that there ever was, that the people of Peekskill are very engaged, especially at election time. And I also want to emphasize that the debate would not have been possible without the mutual cooperation of both, let's call them, factions, represented by Larry Gomez on the Republican side and by Marina Ciotti and Allison Curtis on the Democratic side. And we had a meeting, and it was very cordial and very quick. And so everything you're going to, not here tonight, but everything in terms of the time that each candidate has was agreed on by both sides. It was all mutually agreed to, so I just want to make sure you know that. And we really thank them for supporting the debate, which is in the interest, obviously, of serving those who live and work in the great city of Peekskill. And speaking of that, not that anybody necessarily cares about me, but I just want to make sure you know that I love spending time in Peekskill, but in my role as moderator, and I come here as often as I can, not just on debate night, but I do not live in Peekskill. I therefore do not vote in Peekskill. And in fact, I am not registered with any political party where I do live and vote. So I just want to make sure you know that. And a lot of people submitted questions. The way that I do debates, this is not like what you've been seeing on television, you know, the presidential primary debates, which are sort of entertaining, but the way presidential election debates usually are done is the candidates get the same question. On the primary debates we've been seeing on TV, they give them gotcha questions. Each candidate gets different questions based on things they've said. We don't do that here tonight. The questions that you'll hear can be answered, and I always try to make sure they can be answered by all candidates. So the question is not directed at one person necessarily. And it's based on an issue. It's not based on personalities. It's not based on gossip. It's not based on unique situation that affects an individual who lives in Peekskill. And I also have not shared the questions with anybody, with the candidates. So, and also when the questions are asked, there's a lot of topics, as I don't have to tell anybody here, that are swirling around in Peekskill. And so what I've tried to do with all of you who have submitted questions is, as best I can, and as I go along, I'll improvise as well, is combine topics to make sure the major themes are in all the questions. So what we're going to do now is, first up are the Common Council candidates. Now, prior to the debate, just about a few minutes ago, they drew lots. So the Democratic side is going to go first. They have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Isn't that what we said, 2 minutes? Yeah, I was beginning to question myself, Larry. And then they'll alternate. So it's not like one table will go first. They'll go one for the opening statement. And then, in the interest of fairness, the closing statements, and this may sound counterintuitive, the closing statements are done in the same sequence because, frankly, one, to try and make it, change it around would take us all night. And two, the reason that's done is that way the person who went last for the opening statement gets the last say for the closing statement, which is the fairest way you can do it. And then obviously after that, I'll ask a series of questions and they'll have 1 minute to answer all those questions because we have 6 candidates and we have 1 hour for each debate, for the Common Council and the mayoral debate. And this is something that some people were asking me. When a candidate is asked the question, it'll be the same question that 6 people will answer. They can respond to that question, but they don't have to. They can, frankly, they could say anything they want with the minute they have. They can respond, not directly, but they can respond in their answer to what another candidate said. So I hope everybody understands that. You can answer the question, or you can not answer the question and say something else. You can use your 60 seconds however you want. That's the point. But what we do ask is don't speak directly to another candidate. Speak to the audience or to me. And the way that we keep time, Leslie Phillip Lawler is over there with the clock. And Leslie, can you just give an example of what the buzzer sounds like? Because believe me, when you hear the buzzer, there'll be no mistake when time's up. Yeah, no. Actually, it sounded louder when nobody was in the room. Now it's a little muffled. But when you hear the buzzer, complete your thought. You don't have to stop. You can complete your thought or sentence. That's fine. And after that, I will very politely keep saying thank you if you're going too far over. And then, Leslie, are you also going? Does that mean I have to stop talking? Are you going to show the 30-second? I'll ask the candidates. Do you want her to do that? Like when you have 30 seconds left, or? Okay. Okay. All 6 agree. That may be the last time tonight, but that's okay. And we also ask, again, I know there's a lot of emotion that runs through any election, that please respect each other in the audience. Please respect everybody up here on stage. And I hope it's not necessary, but I've done these debates quite often, and I'm not a tough guy. I think there's some in the audience, but I'm not a tough guy. But when I do a debate, what I will do is stop the debate if people are interrupting any of the candidates or me. I'll just stop until, we can return to order. So please, let's just all, be on our best behavior, and that goes for me too, by the way. And another thing about debates is that there are no titles tonight. In the interest of fairness, everybody is Mr. or Ms. It's just the way I do it. So now let's start with I think I finished all my housekeeping. So let's start with the 2-minute opening statements. And who is going to go first?
Good evening, and it is so exciting to see a room full of people out for something like this, I have to tell you. My name is Kathleen Talbot. I'm finishing my first term on the City Council. I'm a third-generation Peekskill homeowner, and I have a son, and I'm a grandmother of 3. I had prior to my current career as sorry, I'm getting feedback. Prior to my current career in social work, I had a 25-year business career in graphic design. I had my own business, a very successful business. As a community service, I do quite a number of things. I've been around town a lot. I'm a member of the bid board. I was a member of the Paramount Center for the Arts before this newest owner. I was a founding member of the Peekskill Education Foundation and others. During my time on the council, happily, over the years, I have seen the Holiday Inn Express, the Hudson Room, Gleason's, Romanesque, Iron Vine, and so forth. Joanne Fabrics came in. Expansions happened, like Hudson River Health Center and Save More Parts. The Paramount reopened. That was a big thing. And I was on the committee that helped make that happen. Residential development proceeded along Brown Street and Central Avenue in its sort of glacial pace, as it often does. And the Peekskill Landing, I had a lot to do with the artwork down there, the sculpture, and I'm thrilled to have any part of a new park opening. I'm committed to service and advocacy. I'm committed to responsible development. I'm committed to environmental preservation. I've worked with Stop the Algonquin Pipeline, and I support the arts, artists, and improving the quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Herbert Reyes, and I've been a Peekskill resident and a homeowner since August of 2005. Along with my wife and my 2 sons, we did more than just purchase a house. We've built a home. Being a part of this community is important to us. Seeing our city prosper economically is important to us, too, and that's why I'm running for city council. I spent 12 years at MTV Networks. The first 2 I was in advertising, where I learned the importance of creating content and turning an idea into reality. I then spent the next 10 years in finance. The experience I received working with budgets and deadlines and diverse individuals who were really, really successfully motivated to do the right thing. I'm confident that I can be a part of a team that is fiscally responsible and serves the community respectfully. Our mayor, he's worked tirelessly to bring in new projects, increase the financial strength of the city, eliminate wasteful spending, and created a community of inclusion. How many of us don't enjoy Café al Aire Libre, or the New Year's Eve celebration, or Jazz Fest? This is a special time in Peekskill, a time that I want to be a part of, where we create substantial change and have an economic impact, where our success is not measured by how we feel, but rather how the next generation feels about the city we've left them, a city that one day will become their own. This is why I ask you, the Peekskill voter, to give us the opportunity to carry the baton over the finish line and vote for Team Catalina on November 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, response. I am Vivian McKenzie, born and raised here in Peekskill. I have a Bachelor of Science in Management from the State University of New York at Binghamton. I'm a Gates Millennium Scholar, also a Goldman Sachs Scholar. I've worked in the insurance industry for more than 25 years, managing a $24 million territory. I am currently a small business owner here in downtown Peekskill. I have 3 children who have all gone to our Peekskill City Schools, and I currently have a granddaughter in our middle school. I am married and been married for 17 years. I've been a bid board member in Peekskill, a Girl Scout leader here in Peekskill, and I'm a member of Park Street Amy Zion Church, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the NAACP, and the Peekskill Chamber of Commerce. I'm the first African American to sit on the Peekskill City Council. I've been on the council for 2 years. I've worked on the Wheelabrator contract to ensure that we are not burning sludge here and that we're being compensated correctly. I've worked to keep taxes under the tax cap, and I've worked to make sure there are guidelines in place for our art lofts in the downtown that protect both our artists and our property owners. I am running for re-election for the council. It is important that we continue to progress as we've done. I'm looking forward to seeing Peekskill continue in the fashion that it is, but expanding our tax base, opening up to welcoming more people within the area, and really doing the right thing by all people that live here. So I ask you on November 3rd to vote for me and my team. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Tina Fischer. Some of you might know me as Tina Scribola, my maiden name. I lived in Peekskill for 45 years, and I grew up on Houston Avenue, and I now live in the Riverbend. And I love this city, as I've said many times before. My qualifications for being here and being on the council is that I worked for the city of Peekskill for 12 years. I worked in the finance office. I've seen many different things going on, and I want to see things progress in a manner that I've been seeing in the last year and a half. I want to help the board and help this city grow. I have seen where we haven't had as much development as we could have, and one big thing that we need to do is increase our tax base to keep our taxes low. So by doing that, we need to bring in private developers and create land improvement. So this way we could take some of the taxes off of the city, out of the city tax roll that are owned by the city, and put it into private hands. I want to do this in a good way, have good development for residents and things like that. So this way we can bring more base into the city. So during the tenure that I was working for the city, I saw it in a positive manner, and I also saw it going into a downward spiral. During the downward spiral, I saw jobs being lost, and people, sorry, excuse me. I was there when the jobs were being lost. It was very impactful for me. Other ways that we could increase our tax base through this is by bringing in and bringing back positions that were lost. Positions that actually created a profit. Positions that were lost for I don't know what reason. Our parking enforcement actually brought in more money than he actually spent. Our code enforcement brought more money in than they actually spent. And it actually was able to help other employees. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. My name is Rainey. I was born here in Peekskill, New York. I'm also a resident here in Peekskill. My father was in the Air Force, so I got to travel around the world at a young age. I went to Germany at the age 3. I also lived in Las Vegas for a few years in my lifetime as well. I've been a part of the community in Peekskill for many years now. My focus has mostly been on the kids and the youth in the city of Peekskill. We've done plenty of things for the children, from after-school activities, all the way to after-school programs, which we're currently doing now. I look forward to working and serving for the city of Peekskill for many reasons. One, I'm passionate about it. I love this city with all my heart. I express that in music. I am an artist. I'm a musician. I express my love for my city in my music. If you just ask me any questions about the city, I have no problem telling you how I feel about the city of Peekskill and what I want to do. I do know that the city is going in a great direction, and I'm all for the ideas of my ticket. We've come up with a lot of ideas that we really want to capitalize on over the next few years. I also want to make sure that we don't forget to involve the children and the young adults in the city of Peekskill. As we progress, as we make better decisions, as we make more things possible for our people to come to the city of Peekskill and live, I definitely want to make sure that the kids get the same attention that they deserve. There's a lot of things that we can offer these kids in the city that I think that we forget about. We get comfortable with making the city look like this glamorous place for everybody to come, but I think it's important that we take care of what we have first and then bring everybody out. It's like, when you have a home, if you own a home here, you want to make sure that your inside of your house is taken care of. You don't want the outside of the house to look good. When you come inside, you can't even use the toilet. It's just terrible. I want to make sure that people understand that we want to take care of what we have here first. I think that with the ideas that me and my ticket put together, I think we will do that. So I hope that we do get your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank all of you for coming out today to hear us speak. It means a lot to me, and it proves democracy works. I'd like to thank Bruce for putting this event together, and of course not forget our timekeeper. I'm gonna need an extra minute later, Leslie. I'd like to thank Mike Miner as well. So let me introduce myself. My name is Brendon Fitzgerald. My family's been in this city for the last 100 years. But being here for 100 years doesn't matter as much as being here now. We are all a part of this city, and this city means a lot to me, and that's why I chose to live here, because I love this city. A little bit about myself. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran. I'm a project manager at Con Edison for the last 8 years. I'm a certified mediator. I have a master's degree from Manhattan College. I still serve our country today in the Air National Guard at the Fighting 105th as a firefighter. I'm a member of the American Legion, the Peekskill Fire Patrol, and the Peekskill Elks. Also, one of my greatest, proudest accomplishments is being a husband to my wife, Lindsay. I want to be your councilman. Why? Great question. Thank you. Because I feel it's my obligation to serve this community. I've learned a lot from my years in the military and managing projects and process. And I've only been on this planet for 32 years, and there's one thing I have learned, that I want to make a difference in my community, and I want to make a difference with the people I live with in my community. The experiences that I've, sorry. Aw. She took a minute off, I think. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to the candidates. So now you've met all the candidates, and now we'll hear what they have to say about a broad variety of topics, again, that a lot of you have submitted as questions. And as I said before, what I'm trying to do, because we couldn't possibly ask all the questions in the time allotted, all the ones that were submitted, that is. So what I've tried to do is combine questions that are on the same theme or topic. And I don't know, I meant to say this before, but it's not too late. If any of you wanted to indicate what lines you're running on, or I guess when you answer questions, you could do it, or in your closing statement. But I just wanted to throw that out there if you think that that's something you want to say. So I'd like to hit the ground running. So the first question, are you in favor of keeping any tax increases within the 2% state tax cap? And now what I'm going to do, just bear with me, I want to make sure I keep track of the order that you answer the question. So actually, why don't we start with you, Brendon, since you were the last one to read your, or to say your opening statement. And if you want, you could always ask me to repeat the question, which I'm happy to do. Are you in favor of keeping any tax increases within the 2% state tax cap? Any city of Peekskill tax increases within the 2% state tax cap?
Ladies and gentlemen, this city is in serious financial trouble because we haven't been able to manage a budget. I would love to stay under the tax cap. The problem is we deferred pensions for 3 years straight, and now we have to make payments on those pension plans. We're already going to be over the tax cap this year. There's no way around it. So everything comes down to management of your financials, and that's what I'm going to bring to the table, a balanced budget, and do what's right for this city. Thank you.
Yeah, and also I would ask you, I should have said this at the beginning, to please hold your applause until actually the very end. That alone will probably save 20 minutes. So, Andre, again, every candidate has 60 seconds to answer the question. Are you in favor of keeping any tax increases within the 2% tax cap?
Loud. I am in favor of it. I think that the first step would be to, once I'm in office, is to find out who I'm supposed to work with. That helps us make these decisions. I don't want to make the mistake of going in there and saying I know what to do, how to do it, why to do it, and where to do it, without knowing who I'm supposed to work with or who I can work with to make it happen. So if there is a way that we can stay within the 2% tax cap, then I'm sure that we certainly will, and we'll do everything that we can to make sure we can. If we can't, then we'll make sure the people know that we tried our very best to, and we couldn't. But yes, I am in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Tina Fischer?
I am in favor of trying to stay below the 2% tax cap. It might be difficult, but as Andre did say, I agree exactly with what he said. We do need the leadership of the people that are actually paid professionals within the city, our comptroller, and our city manager to help us figure out how to do this, how to get it done, using our planning board, see if there's anything we can do within that. So I am in favor definitely of trying to keep the 2% tax cap for the city.
Thank you. Vivian McKenzie?
Favor of keeping below the tax cap.
Okay. Herbert? I'm sorry?
Yes, I want to stay below the tax cap.
Yes, she is.
Yes, I'm in favor of staying below the tax cap. I'm sorry.
I think it was the microphone.
And I concur with my running mates. I definitely want to stay under the tax cap.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's important to stay below the tax cap or at the tax cap for a number of reasons, because I think that can't be for me. That cannot be for me, right? Well, you know, there's things that are happening now, you know, after the recession of 2008. There were a lot of choices and decisions made. Some people here may not agree with. Maybe they had a better idea. Haven't heard it yet, but I think that to do some of the things that were done in the past, and we're now able to start paying off that pension, which we had to defer. We had to defer that along with any number of other cities and towns in the state. We were not alone on that. And so it's not an unusual thing. The fact of the matter is, like my mortgage, I'd like to pay that off in 1 year too, but I find it impossible to do so. But I think if we steadily keep our eye on the prize and continue with the development that we're bringing in and get commercial development going here, I think that we will be able to take care of the backfall that we had. Thank you.
So that's everybody. Okay. So that was just the appetizer, and now here's the main course, which is the follow-up question. And this, again, was submitted by somebody. Balancing the city's budget by cutting services is not an effective way to improve Peekskill's quality of life for all residents. It also makes Peekskill less appealing to existing and prospective residents and businesses. How would you bring in new revenues? And we'll start with Andre.
Can you hear me? One of the first focuses is definitely bringing in new businesses to the city.
No, it's there's something.
Check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh,
Okay.
I'm supposed to be good with mics. One of the first things we definitely want to do is bring new businesses to the city. I think that the reputation of our city is it can be on the line. You know, what we have in City Hall is what represents us as a city as a whole. And I think that any developer or anybody that wants to come and bring the business in the city of Peekskill is going to look at that and take it into consideration. I think it's important that we build the right relationships with the people, with the key players that are planning on bringing business into the city to help us keep the city moving forward.
Thank you. Tina?
Question?
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah. Balancing the city's budget by cutting services is an effective way to improve Peekskill's quality of life. It also makes Peekskill less appealing to existing and prospective residents and businesses. How would you bring in new revenues?
In reference to cutting employment or cutting city services, I actually want to increase city services and actually in order to combat that exact thing. If we bring back our parking enforcers, like I said at my opening statement, they actually bring in revenue. They cover their salary and more. Same with our code enforcement. When we have code enforcement, as long as you have your fines and they're being upheld and they're being paid, those fines will pay for that person's salary. And that actually helps with quality of life. That helps with things like overcrowding or anything else that might be going on, fire hazards that might be going on. So, and also yards that might look a little bit run down, to say the least. But this way we can get those fines in, but also have those landlords or homeowners take care of their properties and make it look nice for our city and increase the city value that way as well. So actually by hiring people to do the right job and to bring revenue into the city is the way to go, in my opinion.
Thank you. And now Vivian McKenzie. Yep. Balancing the city's budget by cutting services is not an effective way to improve Peekskill's quality of life. It also makes Peekskill less appealing to existing and prospective residents and businesses. How would you bring in more revenues?
So we have a plan to increase the tax base, and that's where you need to really start to bring in revenues. We want to make sure that the riverfront development is a mixed-use development. We want to provide incentive packages to get retailers to come in to our downtown and also to our waterfront district. We're looking to develop a stronger relationship with our schools so that we can build a relationship there that will get people to come in, market our schools, and make people want to come here and go to our schools. And then also establish Peekskill as a business hub for new creative businesses, kind of similar to what we have with the Beehive on Main Street. But things like that, where media groups want to come into the city and prosper, and artists want to come in and prosper. Anything that we can do to increase our tax base.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Herbert?
Excuse me. Our city has a reputation that it doesn't deserve. And walking the city with my running mates, our city is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's got all the amenities. In order to increase our revenues, what we need to do is have the right residential and commercial development in our city. We have the space. Also, it's not effective for Peekskill itself to be the biggest landowner of the city. We need to sell the properties that we have and create these residential and commercial businesses where they will increase our tax base, increase our revenue stream.
Okay. Kathy?
Okay. I think any of these, this kind of bringing money in has to do with increased development and increased commercial development, but I think it also has to do with watching the budget very carefully. I'm on the Budget Review Committee with Drew Claxton and Vinnie Bessie, who's in the back there. and Drew's here someplace, and we are working on a regular basis throughout the year with the comptroller and the city manager, trying to find ways to really drill down on the budget. So it's not a question, we actually have the parking enforcement on staff. He's running around the town giving tickets like crazy. Yeah, but I think that, one of the things we've done is take the one of the overtime budgets, which was completely off scale, and we've through good management in the staff with the staff, we've gotten that down to like maybe a fourth of what it was. So that's the kind of thing that we need to do as well.
Thank you. And Brendon.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are we going to increase revenue? Well, I'm proud to be running with these two because their answers are spot on. We need to 100% bring back those employees that were let go that actually generated revenue for the city. We need to piggyback on top of that with new ideas, as Herb mentioned. Additionally, I see it every day. I'm sure everyone sees it every day. These foreclosed properties that are not taken care of. Why? Because the banks don't get big enough fines. Very simple, $1,000 fine. The city will come cut your grass, no problem, $1,000. And we will start to bring in new revenue, just like that. Thank you.
Very good willpower, by the way. Thank you all. The next question. Are you in favor of a city manager form of government? And we'll start with Tina.
Can you clarify what you mean by city manager form of government?
Yes, where the mayor is part-time and the city manager is basically the chief executive officer.
That's what we have right now.
Yes, no, and the question is, are you in favor
Oh,
of that?
okay,
Yeah, right, no.
that didn't
No,
seem
that's-
like how
Are
it
you in
came.
favor of the form of government that Peekskill currently has?
I am.
Okay.
Definitely I'm definitely for that. It's worked very well for this city. I think it's good that we have somebody on staff all the time. He's able to be called 24/7. He runs the show. He talks to us. We give him our opinion. He runs with it. He tells us his opinion, and that's what we need. We need somebody that's in there, in the trenches, that's doing his job, getting the job done, talking to all the managers, talking to the people, giving it to us. We don't really need a strong mayor. We don't need New York City. So we're not New York City. We're Peekskill. City manager is doing a great job, and I love the way this works. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian McKenzie.
I do believe, I agree with the city manager form of government. What I don't believe in is that our city manager's position is based upon a political position. I think it's ridiculous that every 2 years we could have a different city manager because of whoever's been elected. I think that makes it very difficult for our city to thrive. We can't move forward. By the time somebody comes in and gets acclimated and starts doing stuff, 2 years later they could be out of a job. It also makes it very difficult to attract people who want to work here if they know that in 2 years, depending upon the election, they could be out of work. So while I do believe in the city manager form of government, we may need to change how we actually place that person.
Thank you. Herbert.
I'm definitely in favor of the way the government is run right now. I think the city manager's job is an important one. He gets paid as such. He gets paid to make those hard decisions. We're here to support all those decisions, and I think that the city manager should stay in the role that he's in right now.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen Talbot.
Yeah, I think there's a delicate balance between the two.
Poor Kevin.
It's a good thing I can roll with things, you know what I'm saying? You picked the right one for that, Leslie. Are we good? Am I good? Okay. Thank you. I think it's important to have the city run. We're in the 21st century. We have to have professional management to run the city. When you're electing someone, we have a city of 25,000 people. The mayor has to be a resident of the city. It's unrealistic to think that you could hire a professional technically every 2 years to as a mayor/city manager to run the city. We want the best that we can get, and that's why the electeds and the professional staff really can't be switching every 2 years based on who likes who and what. we have to hire the best people we can and get them in the jobs. We've had terrific turnover this year that I'm very unhappy about, and we have to now put that team back together. It's been contentious, to say the least. Thank you.
Thank you. Brendon?
I am in favor of the current way the city is managed with the city manager, and I feel we get better candidates running for mayor that way, because if you risk losing your job every 2 years, who would want to quit their career to go and run this city? So I'm definitely in favor of a city manager.
Thank you. And actually, I blame myself because Leslie had said to me, will I give her enough time in between? And that's why this is happening. So I have to give you a little more, in acting, we call it a beat, right? I have to give you a couple of beats. So you tell me when you're ready. And okay. All right. And Andre, do you want me to repeat the question? Or?
No, I think I understand it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm definitely in favor of it. As Vivian said, and I've learned a lot from Vivian in this election. It is important to take care of the people. If we're going to keep it, if it isn't broke, don't try to fix it. So I believe the way it is being ran is good, but we do want to make sure that whoever we have in that position, that we take care of them as well. So I'm in favor of it, and I agree.
Okay, thank you. The next question. Now, this is one of those questions I was referring to where there's been questions in this general area coming from different directions. So I'm just trying to consolidate and pack them all into one question. And this has to do in general with the youth of Peekskill. A lot of people ask that question in one form or another. So one way to phrase it is, do you support the creation of a youth board or more funding to improve the Kiley Center? And one gentleman who is here tonight also is asking about Peekskill funding a soccer field. So, I mean, you can answer the question in that whole general area of what Peekskill, what it's doing for its youth, what it could be doing for its youth, and how you feel about the current state of affairs. Well, that's the general question. And we'll start with Vivian McKenzie.
Oh, okay. I think currently our youth departments, we have several. We have the Youth Bureau, we have the Kiley Center, we have Parks and Rec. Our churches have youth programs. We have several youth programs. I would like to see one umbrella where we can put all of these units together underneath one umbrella with a one section of it being for profit, the other not for profit, so they can go out and get funding, so that it can really start to develop some of the things that we have here. Our youth are very important. We would like to see quality of life things changed by focusing on family-friendly things. So we have to get the revenue in the door to be able to do that. So for a soccer field, we have soccer fields. We have, the park and things of that sort. May not be exactly what they want, but we have to share the properties that we have. Yeah, I would like for us to work and rebuild our youth development.
Thank you. Herbert?
I'm a father of 2 boys, so having an avenue for kids is obviously very important. My wife is also the assistant principal at the high school, so I know that reaching out to the community and making kids really important, an important part of what we're trying to do should be always at the top of the list. As it stands, there's 3,000 kids in the school system right now. And all those kids need an opportunity to go somewhere, to do something after school. Not a lot of them have a place where they can, socialize with their friends. Not a lot of them have a place to even call home. I mean, some of these kids, they're living with grandma or an auntie or a neighbor in some cases. So you really need to invest in this community, invest in these children. But it also starts at home. The responsibility starts with mom and dad or who's ever running that household to set standards and to make these kids obligated to always do the right thing, or at least put the effort to do the right thing.
Thank you. Kathy Talbot.
Okay. I think we absolutely need to take care of our youth the same way we take care of our seniors. There's special needs on both ends of the life spectrum. I think kids in Peekskill and other places are very disenfranchised about the system and don't see any relevance to their life. I think they need to be motivated. And one of the things that, by the way, I think would be very motivating for the kids in Peekskill is Andre Rainey on the city council, because I have seen how the kids look up to him. He is just an amazing role model. And having him on the city council would take him from one arena and put him into another, and it would be a game changer. We have to get all of these services more organized and together, and we absolutely need to come up with a solution for the Kiley Center. We don't own the building, but it's a mess right now, so we need to do something.
Thank you. Brendon Fitzgerald.
Yes, I'm in favor of all programs for our youth. I think it's extremely important. I feel our current programs are underutilized, and really we need to help get that word out to the community. And one idea I have is to upgrade our website and put the kids corner on there, so not only parents can find out about all the programs going on in the city, but they can register their kids there. They can pay for their kids to go to these summer camps. And I think we're in the past sending out a flyer every year about what programs are coming up in the summer, and probably not mailing that out would cost to update the website.
Thank you. Andre Rainey.
Yes, I'm in favor of doing things for the youth and putting money into the Kiley Center. As part of the reason why I wanted to run for council was to make things like this more easier for the youth to receive. One of the things that Ken Martin had mentioned to me was the contract that we have with the youth center now. As you know, in the question you said that they want to, they would like to see a soccer field. I mean, we have kids that come and practice in our gym soccer now. So if we could find a way to breach that contract just a little bit, because the city does own it, then we can make that Kiley Center just about anything. I mean, there's room in there for volleyball, there's room in there for soccer, there's room in there for basketball. We play glow-in-the-dark dodgeball. Like the Kiley Center can be like the core for the children in the city of Peekskill. So I support the idea of putting more money into the Kiley Center. And I'll definitely work as hard as I can to get that to happen.
Thank you. Tina Fischer.
I am definitely in support of anything that's going to help our youth. We have to figure out in reference to how we're going to do it. Of course, everybody has a plan, everybody has something, but it doesn't seem like it's completely being implemented correctly. I agree with Vivian. I definitely agree that the Youth Bureau and the Parks Department definitely need to get together. They need to get their forces together and find the best routes for all of this. I think more GED programs, if that's what we need, let's get them. Let's get people in. Let's have mentoring programs. Let's do a whole bunch of different things that we might not have thought of yet. Let's think outside the box. Let's get other people involved. I mean, we have a great group of people right here that actually care about the city. Let's get some people involved into the youth. Let's get it going. Let's get it out there. So this way we can move on. Get the parks involved with our community. Get them out there, see some of the leaders out here, and try and get something that's good for each sect of everybody and bring everybody together. That's what I want to see.
Thank you. The next question, just switching gears, is about affordable housing. And now this could be phrased a lot of different ways, but essentially the question at hand is, as this person wrote it in any case, there are residential projects in the works in Peekskill, including some designated as luxury. Should affordable housing be part of these projects? But I would advise the candidates you can comment on affordable housing in general. It doesn't have to only specifically refer to what this questioner is asking about. I mean, the specific question again is that there are residential projects in the works in Peekskill that are designated as luxury housing. Should affordable housing be part of those projects? But the general question is, where do you stand on affordable housing in Peekskill right now, today? Herbert Reyes, you want to go first?
One of the projects is the lofts that are next to Birds Hall. That's affordable housing. You also have, our city, and I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. Our city gets a bad reputation. You hear a lot of times that it's a dumping ground, or, that Peekskill has low standards. It doesn't. Our city is a great city. I mean, we have beautiful homes everywhere. As far as affordable housing is concerned, there's a need for that. But how much of a need as relative to everything else in the city is something that we need to decide how we spend it. Right now, again, as part of the mayor's 3-point plan, there's affordable housing in that plan. So we're establishing a certain criteria, and we're going to fill a need that our city has.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen Talbot?
Yeah, I think every community needs housing that's affordable for its residents. If you don't have housing that's affordable for the guys that are in our various departments, workers, school teachers, nurses, home health aides, we want those people to have a place in our community. I think there's always been a confusion between affordable housing and subsidized housing. I think that what we have to do with development coming in is similar to the Ginsburg project up on St. Mary's. He's going to be building some market rate in that Gateway project across from on Main Street, across from Bowman Towers. First-time homes for people who want to get into the home owning market, and those are good initiatives. I think Peekskill has quite a bit of rental properties. Okay, I'll stop there.
Thank you. Brendon, Fitzgerald?
Yes, I think members of the community need a place to live. And what Kathy was hinting to was the low-income housing they were going to build for across the street from Bowman Towers, which was going to be for first-time home buyers to help them own a home. And it was an amazing program. Ginsburg was going to bring that in and build it, and some people were against it, and I couldn't imagine why. But I'm definitely in favor of affordable housing for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre, Rainey?
Yes, I'm for affordable housing. I would like to see my peers that grew up in Peekskill be financially stable enough to live and grow old in Peekskill, like my family did. So yes, I'm all for it.
Tina Fischer?
I am also for affordable housing. I lived here all my life. We had 5 kids and 3 adults in one 3-bedroom house. We know what it's like to live in tight means, and I did not come out of that house wealthy by any means, and I pull up my bootstraps every day to pay my rent and pay my mortgage, and I know how hard it is for not only myself, but many other of my friends. So I'm definitely for it, to do an income-based type of affordable housing. Absolutely.
Thank you. Vivian McKenzie?
Yeah, we're a very diverse community, and I feel that we need to have housing for everyone. We have some housing now, but affordable housing should go across the spectrum of all people. Well, you have young people who are first trying to buy their homes. You have seniors who want to stay in their homes or who want to have their own homes. So we need to make sure that we have housing for everyone, so we're inclusionary. In terms of the Ginsburg project, he has come through with a project for Abbey Hill that we've looked at, that everyone seems to be excited about. It is not low-income housing that we're proposing, or he's proposing there. It's affordable housing, housing that anyone can get into that wants to buy a home who may not be able to do it according to the regular banking standards that we have now. So it's affordable housing, and yeah, I'm for that.
Okay, thank you. Well, some of you may know the famous quote, there are only 2 things in life that are certain, death and
Taxes.
Yeah, that's right. So, unsurprisingly, there were a bunch of questions about various aspects of taxes in Peekskill, and I'm just going to roll them all up into one question, because we could be talking about taxes all night. And so the taxes that I've been hearing about in the last week or so, since questions have been submitted for this debate, are the exit tax, and I just want to quickly read what somebody submitted. Approximately 4 or 5 years ago, the Peekskill City Council passed an exit tax for citizens who sold their homes, and the city council did this to raise money for the new central firehouse. Whether that person, meaning the homeowner, upgraded or downsized, but stayed in Peekskill or moved out of Peekskill, all were charged this tax. So that's one tax, and the question there is, are you in favor or opposed? Another one that I heard about was the utilities tax. The question was, what are you going to do to revoke the tax on utilities, phone, Con Ed, coming into Peekskill households? And then you could even, without stretching it too much, say some people think you have a parking tax now because the parking meters now are 15 minutes for 25 cents. So that's a way of, increasing revenues, obviously. But let's just throw that in too, because I'm not going to ask a separate question about it. It's like utilities tax, parking tax, exit tax, so go at it. No, I mean, seriously, just, whatever comments you want to make on taxation in these specific areas, I think would be helpful for people to hear. So we'll start with Kathleen Talbot. And if you want me to repeat it again, I'll try,
Yeah,
but I
actually
can't promise
would.
anything.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Would you repeat it?
Oh,
Just crunch it down.
is that a rhetorical question?
Yes. Just a taxes, comment on
Yeah, I
taxes.
mean, the general question, which is like on 3 different pieces of paper, I'm just stitching it together as I talk, is, where do you stand on taxing Peekskill residents for their utilities on top of the utility bill? Where do you stand on this exit tax that when somebody downsizes, upgrades, moves out of Peekskill, they get taxed as a fund for the firehouse? Mm-hmm. And if you want to comment on the fact that the way I was told tonight by somebody here, that the meters were changed to 15 minutes without anybody being notified about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I park in Peekskill, and I'm happy to put my quarters in your meters, believe me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I guess I could start by saying I'm a homeowner. I'm a single person owning my own home, and I hate taxes. And I'm sure everybody here hates taxes as well. We're building this new firehouse, and we have to fund the firehouse one way or the other. It's not going to fund itself, so we're funding it with some bonds. And, like many of the things that I do in my own home, I take a little from here, and I borrow from here, and I get from here, and I put it all together in a pot. And I think that was the concept behind the transfer tax. I'm thinking about selling my home in the next few years. Do I want to pay the transfer tax? Oh, no, I don't. But I understand why these taxes are in place. If we want to change them, I guess that's something we can do. But we have to replace them with borrowing is a question. And things like the tax for the dump, I think that should be paid for by the people who use that service. I never go to the dump, and I don't want to pay for somebody else's dumping. Thank you.
Brendon?
Ladies and gentlemen, taxation without representation. Have you ever seen anything so ridiculous? So you lived here your whole life, you paid for your home, and you go to sell it, and because you're leaving, you get taxed for that. It's like a punishment for living here? I don't understand why it was created. Well, I do. It's political, because if you're moving, hopefully you're not voting here anymore. The problem is when people just move down the street, and we're furious about it. And I think the people have been speaking that they don't appreciate this tax. And we need to change that, and we plan on. Thank you.
Andre Rainey?
If they tax you for moving, maybe they want you to stay. I don't know where that came from. I wasn't on the administration when that was passed. But again, if the people don't want it, then we work hard to prevent it. I'm not really sure what year or why that was even, brought up. And as far as the taxes go about the parking that changed the 15 minutes, I mean, I've experienced the Peekskill parking tickets myself. So I'm gonna fight to the death for that, in office or not. We got to fix that. But as far as that goes, I wasn't in office when that happened, so I have to get more clarification on that to really say what I suggest about it. But as far as I know, I'm not in favor of tax them when I leave if I have to leave.
Okay, thank you. Tina?
In reference to transfer tax, I hate it. I think it's the worst thing we did. I know it's for people moving out of Peekskill, but still, come on. There's enough you're paying when you're selling your house or even buying a house. That's one added stress. The state already gets you for 0.4% for a transfer tax, and then we add a transfer tax on top of it to support the firehouse. We could have had other means to support a firehouse than to charge a 1% transfer tax, in my opinion. And in reference to the dump and charging a fee for the dump, City of Peekskill has always been free trash. Doesn't matter if you're dumping it off or if they're picking it up in front of your house. It should still be free. That's my opinion on that one. And that's all I have to say.
Vivian McKenzie.
Okay, in terms of the parking tax increase, I don't think anybody is happy about that. However, it was discussed in many council meetings, and unfortunately, however it rolled out, it rolled out. It may not have been the best rollout, but I do have to take, admission for it. I was sitting on that council when it was changed. So we have some work to do. We are looking at the parking and how we can change it, whether we're going to meters and so forth, but that's something that the council is working on. In terms of the exit tax, I, like Andre, was not sitting on the council when that was done. However, I know as part of the last election and sometime there was talk that we were going to look at that. That has not been brought up in the 2 years that I've sat on the council. So it's something that I guess needs to come back to the drawing board. And that's it.
Thank you. Herbert?
I didn't submit that question even though I got one of those tickets. I didn't pay attention, and I just dropped in a quarter thinking I was getting 30 minutes. So I got a nice little surprise when I came back to my truck. I am not in favor in raising taxes. Historically, as recently as 10, 12 years ago, our city went through a period where we didn't raise taxes for 3 consecutive years. So that's due to fiscally being prudent and making the correct decisions at City Hall and having the city council that paid attention to their earnings versus their estimates versus their actuals and planning for the future. And that's one thing that can happen again, so that we don't have this conversation about, are we going to raise taxes? Is there an exit tax? We plan smart, we can eliminate that.
Thank you. And I see my friend Superintendent David Fine is here, and there is actually a question, so I might as well read it now in his honor. No, but there is a question that was submitted. I think it may have been submitted tonight. And essentially the question, and again, you have latitude in how you want to answer this. The way the question was submitted was, can the Common Council do anything to work with the Peekskill school system to, improve the quality, as Superintendent Fine is currently working on very hard, I know. So. And Brendon, start with you.
All right, fantastic. Absolutely. The relationship needs to be improved upon, and we can bring new ideas to the table to be that outside voice of reasoning, and hopefully we can make that happen. One of my ideas is actually to incorporate a junior ROTC program in the school district, which is beneficial for our students, our youth, to have role models there, teach leadership traits, and additional benefits are potential full scholarships to school, to college afterwards, or just a good role model and some discipline taught. But these are just one of many ideas we can bring to the table and improve that relationship and make our schools better together.
Thank you. Andre Rainey?
One of the ideas that Ken brought forth, Ken Martin, was to hire a liaison to keep a communication with the council and with the school board. I'm in favor of that, but I also, I believe in the old school way. As a city council member, just keeping in contact with the man that's here right now, that would be the first step for me. There's a lot of organizations in the city of Peekskill that can work together to make the city go forward if we can just pick up the phone and contact each other and sit down and meet. I don't think it's going to take too much more than that to make it happen.
Thank you. Tina Fischer?
Good point, Andre. I'm on board with what Andre said, honestly. I think we definitely need more communication with the school district and get things going with the ball fields and the football fields and get community activities on there when you guys don't have activities going on there. And bring in leagues that can use the fields while they're not in there to help the whole community, to help the kids even, have their own kids leagues that can use the ball fields and do all that. That's a lot to do with Parks and Rec, but now we also have to work on the school itself. What can we do within the school? We'd have to find that out. We'd have to talk with them, see what they need from us, what we need, what we can do working together. And that's all we can do is actually talk, work together, and see what can be accomplished.
Thank you. Vivian McKenzie?
And, I've raised my children here and I've gone to school here. Our schools get a bad rap and, it's not fair. We have good schools. I think it's about changing the perception of our schools. Currently, we work with our school board. We have meetings one-on-one where the boards come together and meet together. But I think we need to push that even further and start marketing our schools so that people know what good things go on here in our schools and not the stuff that they've heard from years ago or what they perceive this area to be, but that we really have good kids, good programs, and good schools. Can they be stronger? Any program can be stronger. But we have a good base here, and I'm tired of people knocking it, and we all need to stand up and fight for our children and our school system.
Thank you. Herbert?
Not because he's here, but Dr. Fine is actually a great superintendent. He's focused, he's smart, he's motivated. So our schools are headed in the right direction if they weren't so already. To concur with Vivian, our schools get a bad reputation. It seems like good news travels like water and bad news travels like lightning when it comes to our school system. For every negative that you hear, you'll hear 10 negative things, you won't hear anything positive, or you'll hear one thing positive. We have kids in this school system that go to Ivy League education, go to MIT, right? Every year, it seems like for the last 10 years, there's been one or two kids that's going to an Ivy League institution. They come back, they come back and they invest themselves in the community. We went to the 63rd anniversary celebration in Mount Lebanon Church, and Pastor Reverend Colbert's son was there. And he was a shining example of what happens when, a kid is involved in the community and takes advantage of the school system. And look at Alex Velez-Green, who I wanted to acknowledge as well. Another shining example of a kid who grew up in Peekskill, went to Harvard, has done amazing things, and is back in our community.
Thank you.
So our schools get a bad reputation.
All right, thanks. Kathleen Talbot?
Yeah, I think the first thing we want to do that we've talked about on our team is to recreate the liaison. When I first got on the council 4 years ago, we had a liaison. Over the change in administration, that sort of fell through the cracks. We had a liaison to every council meeting, to every school board meeting, I'm sorry. I think we have to start having the school board and the council meeting together on a quarterly basis, on a regular basis, and develop good agendas for each one of those. I think we have to start understanding the changing needs of the current student body and adapt to that. And I even think that we need to educate our real estate people to understand what's really going on in the schools. And before my 60 seconds is up, I do want to comment that, yes, we did have 3 years of no taxes, but prior to that we had, or either prior or right after that, we had 30%, a total of 30% tax increase over 3 years under Mayor Tester.
Thanks. Thank you. So there's a couple of more questions, but I can't let you go without asking about what's going to happen soon with snow. Because a lot of people wanted to know about winter parking in Peekskill, one of the favorite topics as winter comes. So the basic question is what to do about winter parking. One person said, street parking in winter months is a perennial problem in Peekskill. Why not allow residents only to park on the street, or require landlords to provide parking for their tenants? So I think all of you are familiar with the issue of winter parking and the problems that it creates in Peekskill with snow plowing and snow removal. So however you want to comment on this. Andre Rainey, we'll start with you.
I'm a victim of the winter parking tickets, so. I believe that's something that we don't have to sit down. I had to sit down with the council and come together with a decision. I believe that they made a decision a few years ago on how the parking is now. So that's something that we'd have to actually sit down and work out to change, to make it, more accommodable for everybody that lives here, especially the homeowners as well.
Thank you. Tina Fischer?
In reference to that, in winter parking, I would love to talk to my superintendent of DPW and my planning department. They need to come up with some ideas to try and rectify what's going on. We can't have cars on the street during winter. We have to plow these streets. We have to make it safe for all of our residents. Having cars on the street just makes a hazard for everybody. You can't shovel your walkways if there's cars there. You can't shovel the road. So I'd rather see a couple of parking tickets, I'm sorry, than somebody getting hurt, or other than just hurt. But we do have to talk to the people in charge, the people that are in it every day, in the dredges, are plowing the streets, and figure out what's the best solution, whether it's alternate sides, and when it's alternate sides, whether it's half a day or whatever, we have to have people that are actually in there doing it tell us how we have to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian McKenzie?
We have had our planners in, well, not our planners, but our police chief and our DPW person in. I have to say that when we change this, the people sitting on the council have driveways. So I don't know if we really thought about this intently when we did this, because quite frankly, I had never been affected by it, and I have to apologize for that. However, we've sat and we've talked about this over and over and over. Saying for the council, a lot of us know that, our citizens, it's hard. It's very difficult. And we're trying to come up with a way for communication. If we can send out a red alert to tell you that, we're doing work at the railroad, then we should be able to send out some kind of communication to say, you can't park on the street today. And then really, people who don't abide by it, they get tickets. And you can't come in and say, I didn't know, because it's your responsibility to know. So we're really trying to work out a way to make it safe for everyone, make sure that our streets can be clean, but not to put people off for 6 months of the year where they can't park in front of their home. So we're definitely working on that.
Thank you. Herbert?
I think we need to examine the areas that are most affected by snow and those neighborhoods, and then make an educated, smart decision as to how we change the parking rules in those neighborhoods. I myself have a driveway, but I'm on one of those blocks where they plow the snow into my driveway, so it still becomes a fun adventure to try to get out of my driveway. So even though some of us have one, it's still not easy. But like I said, it's just being smart about it, meeting with the right people, making a really smart decision. And if that means changing the rules during certain times of the years in those neighborhoods that are most affected, then that's what you have to do.
Thank you. And Kathleen Talbot?
Yes, I've been in all of these discussions, and we have had many discussions with the chief of police and Brent, the DPW guy. I think one size does not fit all in Peekskill, and I think we started moving toward a more rational situation last year. I think we have further to go. I think last year we opened up some additional streets, but look, we're getting more and more residential. And not all these residential are going to be building, parking's going to become more and more of a challenge, especially in our downtown. So I think we have to do some spot evaluations, which the police chief has been doing, but I think we need to do more of that and make sure that the steep hills, for instance, you don't leave a woman who's 60 years old at the bottom of it with 2 bags of groceries and she has to hike up the hill. That's not working.
Thank you. And Brendon Fitzgerald.
Ladies and gentlemen, so we can't just ban parking on the streets, all right? That's not a solution, because it'd be great if everyone had a driveway, but they don't. So how did they figure it out in New York City? Well, if they figured it out there, I think we could follow suit and take some lessons. I worked in the Bronx for 5 years running construction projects in the street, and the winters, it worked, alternate side parking. So I think we could figure that out.
Thank you. And now we get to the bonus round. No, the last question, it's very open-ended, but I think it's very interesting. And it doesn't have to do with any issue right now in Peekskill. And the question is, if there is one thing in Peekskill you could change, what would it be? If you want a couple of seconds to think about it. Okay. Tina Fischer, we'll start with you.
Yay. The one thing I would change with the city of Peekskill is the council. I'd be on it.
Oh.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm just here as the traffic cop. I don't. Vivian McKenzie.
Oh, I thought I had more time. I would like to change the atmosphere that we have in City Hall. We need a more positive environment. We need our employees to want to come to work. We want our employees to want to stay here to work. We need a community that is entrenched with each other, that we're looking forward and moving forward our city in the right direction, taking care of our children, taking care of our seniors, and doing it without disrespecting each other, and just be a community. So that's what I would change.
Thank you. Herbert Reyes.
No city is perfect. Some cities are just better at hiding their flaws than others. I think we have a pretty terrific city. If I had one thing to change, it would be the curb appeal when you enter the city from certain areas. Route 9, Bear Mountain Bridge. You know, it's not the prettiest at times, and it could be a lot better. Changes have already been made on 202, 35, where that disastrous sidewalk was for the longest time. It's been repaved and redone. So things like that are important to the quality of life and to the perception of our city. So when people come here, they say, wow, this is a great city, and they want to stay, not, oh my God, keep going.
Thank you. Kathleen Talbot.
I'm fighting. I have two things I want to change. One, I think I want to really go after code enforcement. There's certain houses that have been left after the real estate bubble. Banks took them over. I think they're called ghost houses or something. And they're sort of pocketed around the different neighborhoods. It doesn't take long before one house like that, with their yard going into disarray and overgrown and, you know, so forth. As I've walked with our DPW guy up and down Constant Avenue and really looked at some of the situations that the people there were struggling with, watching raccoons going under the eaves of these abandoned houses and people living in them and stuff, you know, squatting in them. So I would like to really identify and target neighborhood after neighborhood and really make some ongoing difference. And we must hire that code enforcement person who has been budgeted for all year long, and we still haven't hired him.
Thank you. Brendon Fitzgerald.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I want to change for the city is the financial budget. We have serious financial issues here because of mismanagement and waste, because we don't spend the money properly on services. Instead, we spend money on studies, on property that we don't even own, because why not? And I plan to bring fiscal responsibility back and use the principles that John Testa used when he was in charge of this city and left us with a $10 million fund balance that was depleted down to $7,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Andre Rainey.
I'd like to say thank you for whoever asked that question. If I could change one thing in the city of Peekskill, it would be the leadership. I think a lot of people that we have here in good positions aren't showing the leadership, so the people that are behind them are acting just as they do. We need to change that. As an example, when you work with kids and you play basketball, if you're a coach, you're the coach that's going to make them kids make the right decisions. You're not just the coach for the basketball court, but they're watching everything that you do. I think that some of the people in our city, especially, and this is personal on social media, I think we go a little too far, and we forget that the kids are watching as well. When you have somebody like me on social media, or you have somebody like me in the public eye, I guess you can say now, people are watching what I do. They are watching how I respond. They are watching how I act around these people. So until we get the right leadership, I don't think nothing's going to change.
Thank you. Please. Now we're
Then on top of that, everything will fall into place.
Now we're going to get to the 60-second closing statements, which, as I said before, will be in the same sequence as the opening statements. And unless anybody has a great compulsion to get up at the podium, was it 60 seconds? I think it might be. I mean, if you want to, I'll make way, but...
No, we'll stay here.
Okay, all right. So these are the 60-second closing statements, and we'll start as we did at the beginning with Kathleen Talbot.
Okay. I think that the other thing that I wanted to say before, and there's certain things I'm very passionate about. One is our environment. I've been working in the last year and a half with the people in the Blaylock Park area and others to fight against the pipeline expansion, which is a foolhardy project that's going through right now. It's very ill-conceived, and so that's something that's really important to me. Code enforcement and neighborhoods, the quality of life in neighborhoods is really important, and that's something that I've been very active with the Constant Avenue neighborhoods and others in other parts of town, other neighborhood associations. And I think it's important to manage I think we can manage our way out of the deficits that we are in without paying for it all at once in 1 year. I think that.
Thank you. Herbert Reyes.
I'm humbled and honored by the opportunity tonight to represent my group. Aside from going door to door and speaking to our neighbors, tonight has given me insight into how you guys feel about our city and what's important to you. I hope that I also allowed you the opportunity to see who I am, to understand who I am, and to see what my goals are. Simply stated, I want a city that's fiscally responsible and to make decisions based upon the needs of our community. I'm not a politician. I'm just your neighbor that cares. I trust and hope that my background in finance and understanding budgets and how to stay within them is as important to you as it is to me. Not too long ago, our city was top 10 in Westchester, top 10 in Hudson Valley. It was one of the 6 boom towns in Westchester. This is how people thought of our city. And guess what? We're going to get back there again. And we're going to get back there soon. Because right now, we're headed towards fiscal responsibility in 2016 with a balanced budget. But there's one more item that I need you guys to deliver. And that's a vote for Team Kathleen on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian McKenzie.
First, I'd like to start with a correction. I think in my opening statement, I may have said that I was the first African-American on the council, first African-American woman on the council.
Get him, girl.
Just wanted to make that correction. I am asking you to vote for me. I've sat on the council for 2 years. I think it's real important that we have a change in leadership and that we continue to put a positive atmosphere in the city of Peekskill, to grow our tax base, to do a plan for code enforcement, to look at our infrastructure. But we need the right leadership to do this, and I think this team has that. People will say, you know, give me the right, let's change this team so I can do the things I want to do. The things this council has sat through, there has been nothing that we have not agreed on. Anything that's come before the team, there's been a lot of agreement. The thing that we don't agree on is taxing our citizens. And should, you know, you not change his leadership, you're looking at a tax increase. So the only thing that's going to be different is more taxes.
Thank you. Tina Fischer.
In closing, thank you guys so much for coming out, and I really appreciate it. And I think this team is going to do great things for the city. The team that's we're running against right now, they've had 4 years as a majority to do a lot of things. I don't see a lot of things being done. I don't see certain jobs coming back. We have a part-time parking enforcer, not a full-time. I plan on working with whomever I'm with, whether it's people coming back or new people coming in, and Frank and Joe and Boo. But I plan on working with everybody I want to sit down. I want to be able to get into the mix of what's going on, put my financial expertise of municipal finances involved into this city. I want to work with the city manager, the comptroller, and everybody else to get this going. My team is very well educated. They know what they want. They've been doing a really good job. We loved going door to door together.
Thank you.
And please vote for
Thank
Team
you.
Catalina November 3rd.
Andre Rainey.
She said, boo. They call me Noodle. For everybody out there that's really paying attention to what's going on, my main thing is when you do pick who you vote for, in order for this city to go forward, you have to vote for people that you think are going to be able to work together in that office. I haven't got to sit down with none of the candidates on the other team, but I've been able to sit down with the candidates on my team, and they've saved me, from being able to get some events that were almost taken away from me and the children. I will never, ever say anything bad about Vivian McKenzie because she made it possible for us to give 198 kids book bags and school supplies this year, the record high. So when you do vote, just vote for people that you really believe are going to go in there and work for you and work together. I'm happy to be a part of this team. From day one, there are a lot of questions that I had that I didn't know because I don't know everything about politics still. But Vivian, Kathy, and Ken had no problem, giving me any answers I needed. And that's what teamwork is about. So if you can vote for us November 3rd, please do. If not, just vote for who you believe work together.
And Brendon Fitzgerald.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've learned a lot from my years in the military and managing process and projects. And in my short time on this planet, 32 years, I've learned that what it takes to make a difference in your community, in your life, and I want to do that here in Peekskill. I just want to see what's right for this community and what's best for this community. And you have my word, I'll do that. And I will represent this city with integrity. And I wish they would have followed through with all their plans and I wouldn't have to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to, well, if you'd like to applause at the end, that's fine. We're going to take a few minutes to set up the front for the mayoral candidate, and then we will resume with the two mayoral candidates. Ready to start, everybody. You know something? Pick, both of you have to pick lots. Just pick. What you got? So you want to go first? Really? You can? All right. You hear that, Frank? No. So you'll do the first opening statement. No. It's the same sequence. Yeah. Okay, we're ready. Okay, now we are ready to begin the mayoral debate for Mayor's Office of the City of Peekskill. Thank you all again for being here. And, well, is the microphone working? No, it's not working. Okay. Okay, all right. How about now? No? Oh. Okay. Now it's working. Right, now, yes, okay, thank you. All right, now we're at the mayoral debate for the City of Peekskill. We have, of course, two candidates, Frank Catalina and Ken Martin. And as we did with the Common Council, prior to the debate, they drew lots, and Ken Martin chose to make the second opening statement. So Frank Catalina will make the first opening statement, and the same sequence will hold for the closing statements. For the mayoral candidate debate, the opening and closing statements are 2 minutes each. The response to each question is 1 minute, 30 seconds. And unlike the Common Council debate, there is a 30-second rebuttal. So what that means is whichever candidate answers a question first, and of course I will rotate back and forth, so whichever candidate answers a question first will then have 30 seconds after the other candidate's response to comment or rebut the statement however they want to use that time, which goes for the 1 minute, 30 seconds as well. They can use it any way they want. Whether it's responding to the question or making any other kind of a comment. And so without further ado, we can start with the opening statements. First, Mr. Catalina.
Well, first, Bruce, I want to welcome you and congratulate Ken Martin on a great campaign. I've been honored to be your mayor for the last 2 years. I have a lifelong of residence and service to the city of Peekskill. I had a few years when I lived out of town, but I've worked in the city of Peekskill every single day. My roots in the city, not only did I live here, but I've been active in my community since day one, whether it was being an altar boy at Assumption School, Assumption Church, or Big Brothers of Westchester when I was 18. I'm a lifelong member of the Peekskill Community Volunteer Ambulance Corps that I'm very proud of, past member of the Lions Club, president-elect of the Rotary Club, Elks Club, Christopher Columbus Club, Lincoln Society, where I'm on the board, the Salvation Army, I'm on the board of directors. I served on the BID for 2 years. I was the Peekskill Housing Authority Council for 8 years. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a life member of the Colombian Hose Company #1. I'm their attorney also. I've been the attorney for the Assumption Church for 35 years, and I've never taken a dime in fees. I was personal counsel to Father Ansbro right up until the day before he died. With respect to the city of Peekskill, I've had every single legal job that there is to have. I was a city prosecutor, planning board attorney, zoning board attorney, ethics board counsel, deputy corporation counsel, corporation counsel. I served 5 mayors, and I've served countless city managers. I'm very proud of my record as an attorney and in my service to my community and to my city that I love so dearly. I'm the product of a single-family household, and my mother's here, and I love her, and she worked 3 jobs to put me and my brother through school. Of course, we had a few loans to pay when we got done, but she did the best she could, and I'm very proud of her. I grew up on Lincoln Terrace. I grew up in Finktown, and I'm not a politician. I'm a litigating attorney for 35 years. So if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you a direct answer, and that's who I am.
Thank you. Amen. And now, Mr. Martin's opening statement for 2 minutes.
Good evening. I just have to get used to the whole mic concept. Good evening, everyone. I first want to thank Bruce Apar, media, the teams, and everyone who worked so hard to make this event possible. But most of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank the citizens who came out to make democracy possible. I want to thank the people who are watching on TV and will watch the tape-delayed version, because that's what this is all about. This isn't about me, and it isn't about us. It's about you and what you need for your community, and you because you're making the democracy function. I'm not a politician. So you all know my name's Ken Martin, and some of you know me, but most of you probably don't. A little bit of information about who I am. I'm a school teacher. I've been a school teacher for 30 years. I have spent my life in public service to other people. That's all who I am. Whether it is teaching in Harlem as I currently do, whether it's when I taught in a Catholic school, or whether it's when I taught in Blithedale Children's Hospital with disabled children. And along the way, I've spent years voluntarily coaching children's track clubs, voluntarily officiating local children's track meets. I served on the board at Metropolitan Athletic Congress, again, volunteer. I've helped out my neighborhood association. I've gone down and advocated at the school board. So I'm all about working for the people. 18 years ago, I chose to live in Peekskill, and I've never looked back. I got married in Peekskill. I had my son in Peekskill, 7-year-old child attending the school district, and we love what the school district's doing for him. Oops, thank you.
Thank you.
Got how long it runs.
Okay, and so now we're going to start the line of questioning. And again, just to remind everybody, including the candidates, they have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond to each question. And then the candidate who answered first has another 30 seconds after the second candidate responds. So since Mr. Catalina made the first opening statement, why don't we have you answer the first question?
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
You hear me, right?
I hear you.
Right, okay, thank you.
I hope everyone hears me. But
Right. So the first question, very simple and profound. What will you do to get us out of or keep us out of debt?
look, a couple of things we need to do. The first thing we need to do is to grow the tax base, and we do that by expanding commercial property. We have done a real good job in the last 8 years of expanding businesses in the downtown of Peekskill. What we need to do is bring that on and expand down Washington, and most of all, bring commercial mixed use to the waterfront, recreation, retail, and we need to promote the businesses that are going to keep our tax base in line. We also need to look at collaboration to cut costs, whether it's collaborating with local communities or collaborating with the school district. We can cut costs in that manner. But again, it still focuses more on a balanced approach to development. Some residential, some commercial. But without the commercial, we're going to have a difficult time.
Thank you. Okay.
Ready?
Mr. Catalina.
Thank you. Well, that was a nice answer, and it's something that sounds nice, but of course the evidence does not support the facts. To have any healthy growth in any community, your tax base, your total assessed valuation has to grow 2 to 4% per year. A healthy community like White Plains grows at a rate of 6 to 8% per year. If the tax total assessed valuation shrinks, we all pay more just to stay even. With that said, in the last 7 years, our tax base has shrunk every year for 7 years. So when someone says we have done a good job growing the tax base, that's just not supported by the evidence. Now that's the fact. If the quiet man moves into an existing building and does a nice job fixing it up and cuts a ribbon, that doesn't add 2 cents to our tax base because it's not a new building. To grow the tax base, we need new construction. And in the city of Peekskill, the facts are that during the 6 years of the previous administration, 1 commercial building was completed, a Walgreens drugstore, a $2 million building. That's it in 6 years. Yeah, we had a hotel that was under construction, but that was under construction for 10 years. That was approved by the Testa administration, by the IDA, when Testa was mayor. Look it up. So we have not done a good job growing our commercial base.
Thank you.
As I understand it, when you reconstruct,
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure okay, go ahead.
When you reconstruct a building and you increase its value, you also increase its tax rate. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been over 10 renovated buildings in the downtown of Peekskill alone. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the second question, to switch gears and be a little more specific. And for this one, Mr. Catalina, you'll have the first response. What is your vision for the space now occupied by White Plains Linen?
Well, the White Plains Linen building is in a what I call a transitional zone, and I think the zoning brings that out. The downtown commercial area kind of stops right around the monument, and the residential areas of Highland Park and Highland Avenue and Constant Avenue, North and Division Street, basically begin the residential area. That was an industrial use that was improper for that zone. They outgrew their site. So do we put something commercial there or residential? I believe it should be a residential use. I think the issue or the main question you're asking me is, should the existing building be utilized in a residential manner, or should it be taken down and new residential units put up? And quite frankly, it doesn't really matter what I think. It's what the private property owner who owns that property thinks. And if he can find, he's trying to market the place, he's trying to sell it, he tried to give it to the city for $1, and the IDA refused to exercise their option for their reasons. The council had no say in that. But if a private developer comes in and wants to do beautiful brownstones with parking in a back courtyard area, I think that would be beautiful, and I think it would be a great transition to the neighborhood, and I think it would lift that entire neighborhood up. If a developer wants to come in and make it like they did in Beacon, where they can transform these buildings with concrete walls that are 18 inches thick, God bless them. That would cost millions of dollars. And, either way, whether it's new construction or renovating that existing building, it's going to take millions of private dollars, not government dollars.
Thank you.
Actually, I kind of agree with him on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, it is private property. And what the private owner decides to do with that property is his decision. Would I like to see us put mixed use, both commercial and residential in it? Yes. And it is true that we have to grow our residential, particularly in the center of the city, increase our population density to support our businesses. Nonetheless, it still comes down to the property owner. Can that building be rehabbed? Well, I remember long ago having arguments with people about whether the Myers building could be renovated. But lo and behold, it was done. And it was done remarkably well. Oh, yes, that's another development that's done in the last couple of years. Thank you.
Well, like I said, no new commercial buildings were built in the previous 6 years before I took office, except the Walgreens drugstore. And the Myers warehouse that was renovated was an existing building and was renovated. Since Mr. Martin agrees with me, there's really nothing to rebut. As long as it's private property and private money renovates it, whether somebody wants to come in and make it, renovate the existing building and do it beautifully like they've have in Beacon, I would support that. And if somebody wants to come in and we'll look at a residential plan, I'll look at that too, but as long as it's private money.
Thank you. This question is rather long compared to the other questions, but I think it's extremely interesting and definitely worth hearing both of your thoughts on it. This has to do with city services. The residents of Peekskill's residential complexes, and the examples are Society Hill, Stonegate, the Woods, the Commons, and others, pay enormous amounts of tax to the city of Peekskill. However, they do not get much in return for the money they pay in taxes. This is the person who wrote this who's saying this. For example, the sewer lines and water mains in those complexes, if broken, are not fixed by the city. Residents of the complexes have to hire outside contractors to fix them. Residents of the complexes used to have their garbage picked up by the city, but the city raised the fees, and now the residents have to pay for private carting. It also goes for snow plowing and snow removal. The residents have to pay for it. Residents must pay for their own roads to be paved. Besides, here's the nub of the question. Besides police protection and water services, what can the city of Peekskill do for residents of these areas who seem to be often underserved? So that's a long question and a lot to think about. If you want
Tough question with a tight budget.
Mr. Martin, well, ready? Yeah, Mr. Martin, go ahead.
Tough question with a tight budget. But one of the things we do need to do for them, and speaking to the people of Riverbend, I think they understand this. We need to improve the infrastructure that leads out of there. The fact is that we have one of the oldest and aging infrastructures in the country, and it needs to be rebuilt. That said, I think that they have a legitimate complaint, and do we need to look at offering services to them? Yes. How I finance that, that's a longer and more difficult issue, because if we look at that, then I have to look at shipping taxes higher. So this is a long-term discussion, and if the people of those communities want to come to the table and say, okay, yeah, we kind of agree the taxes have to go above that tax cap to be able to do that, and I'd like to promise you more. I'm not good at stepping up and saying, I can promise you something I can't do. I would like to look at it. I would like to see if we can tighten up management, if we can consolidate how we deliver services. I really believe that we can consolidate and combine with some of the surrounding communities to cut costs. And if we can do that and use technology, particularly in City Hall, to cut costs, then we can afford to start serving more of the people than we currently are. Okay?
Thank you. Mr. Catalina.
Well, first of all, under New York state law, condominiums and co-ops are not paying tax at the full rate that a single-family home would be taxed. And there's reasons for that. Whether I agree with it or not, that's the fact. So they do pay taxes, and they do receive services. They are private property, and a lot of condominiums are formed specifically because they want that private property. They can have a gated community if they want. They can restrict people that can come in and solicit door to door. They can have their own community pools, and they like that privacy. Where the line gets a little fuzzy is where they want us to come in and take over their water lines or their sewer lines and accept them for dedication, or the roads, accept them for dedication. And a lot of times, the city will do it. The city will entertain that application to accept it if the road is built pursuant to code, with the right base, with the curbs, with the drainage, and the same thing with the water lines. I live at Chapel Hill. the year before I became mayor, I was on the board of Chapel Hill, and we wanted the city to take over our water and sewer lines. And we spent $25,000 for an engineer, and the place was only 12 years old. Now, I don't live in the old section. And the newer section is only 12 years old. We had to pay $25,000 to an engineer. We had to pay $32,000 for a plumbing company to come in and run a camera through every single line and to see the inside of the line to make sure it was all up to code. And then I think we had to replace 2 or 3 fire hydrants at $6,500 a piece. And when everything was all done, it cost us almost $100,000. The city accepted it because that's what we do. We accept it if it's up to code.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, 30 seconds.
Still come back to, it's going to cost us a lot of money. I'd love to promise it. I think that we can offer, to improve the infrastructure, I think that we can offer better recreation services to the kids in the city. Thank you.
And that segues into my next question, which we asked at the Common Council debate, and there will be repeats of certain questions from the Common Council debate in this debate. And Mr. Catalina will go first. Do you support the creation of a youth board or more funding to improve the Kiley Center?
Sure. I think we should throw millions of dollars at it. Of course, with the current structure, we do have a rec program. We have a recreation department, we have a youth bureau, and we have the Kiley Center. And each of those have their historical roots in the city. We had a director of the youth bureau that was prolific in getting grants, and that grew that youth bureau into a giant, beautiful thing. And most of it is run by grants. And if we lose grants, we lose employees. And that's exactly what happened when she left. We lost some grants. And so that took on a life of its own. So unless you know the history behind them, it looks like we're a hodgepodge of everything. Could we use a director of youth services or Department of Recreation? Yeah, but I don't, any director is going to want $125,000 or more. I heard one of the council candidates here say there should be an umbrella, even with all the church groups. I don't think government has a role in taking over private groups. What are we going to have, all the Boy Scout troops and Girl Scout troops and the church groups all run by the city? I think that's dead wrong. But the city can centralize its recreation department to include the Kiley Center and the youth bureau. But I think, when you have 25 or 30 people on a youth board, which I think is a great idea, but trying to get anything done over there and trying to take it over with a centralized person, you try making changes at the Kiley Center, and you see the kind of opposition that you're going to have, because those people, the historical roots, were to serve certain segments of our community in that particular area during those hours when they need those services. So it's an extraordinarily difficult thing to do. I'm willing to look at any plan that's brought forth. The opposition has had 6 years of 100% total control of the council. They could have done all of these ideas. They're so simple. Why didn't they do them? That's the question you should be asking.
Well, first of all, I haven't been there for the last 6 years, so I'm a new player here. They say that the greatest compliment is that of imitation. I really enjoyed the response of Mr. Fitzgerald, who took my idea for using the web to improve it. Look, we do need to centralize rec services. We have rec services in Kiley Center. We have them in the Youth Bureau. We have them over at Downey Park. We have the school system delivering rec services. We have private rec services. We have rec services on grant. And then we have people offering community service. Look, I'm not telling you that the city should run all of them. But what I am telling you is it's too easy with technology on our recreation site to put a link to every single service in the city. Whether it is boxing, First Boxing, or it's the karate club, or it's the private companies, or it is the companies where people working off grants, it is the Kiley Center. A parent should be able to get in touch with all the recreations in the city in one place. I only, with a parent of a 7-year-old child, I only know where all the recreation is now because I've been running for mayor. It should not be that difficult, okay? We can make, and it doesn't cost us much of anything. I've got a volunteer ready to step up and restructure that for nothing. Putting links on a website is no problem. And we're not asking the city to run them. We're just asking the city to connect them. And that
Thank
is
you.
the biggest thing,
Thank you, Mr.
communication.
Martin. Thank you. Mr. Catalina, 30 seconds.
And I think the city just paid, I don't know, $10,000 or $20,000 to have its website redone just in the past year. You know, I can't help it if if it's not user friendly. I mean, it's not, and we paid for nothing instead of paying what the right amount would have been, $50,000 or $75,000, to have it done the right way as it was proposed by one of the bidders. No, we went with a $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 gimmick, and it doesn't work. But yeah, we can improve with technology. I agree with that.
Good, thank you. This will be answered by Mr. Martin first, this next question. And it's about job creation. As mayor in 2016 and beyond, what would your plan be to attract quote-unquote hot job employers to Peekskill that ideally introduce professional, highly skilled employment opportunities?
It comes down to focusing on commercial, and expanding our business space. I think that the waterfront gives us a magnificent opportunity. Yes, we could put the first floor being, for example, recreational retail. But there is no reason we couldn't run second floors if we can convince a developer to buy into it. Who doesn't want to come into a job where they look over the Hudson River and then gets to cross the street and get on the train when they need to? We need to have a business plan that attracts young startups, freelancers. These are the kind of businesses, new technology. Also, we can have cooperatives. I've spoken to people who work in the food industry, and they're looking for cooperative kitchens, much like the Beehive concept. Give people places to start up businesses. Now, not all these startup businesses will succeed, but ladies and gentlemen, we don't need them all to succeed. If we have a few of them succeed, then they're going to stay here, and they're going to create the jobs that we need. We can also build around the Hudson Valley healthcare, okay? There are a lot of jobs that are going to be created by that. And if we can add office space around that and bring doctors around there, that's going to be a good thing for Peekskill also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce, can I ask you to please repeat the question? Because
Yes. As mayor in 2016 and beyond, what would your plan be to attract quote-unquote hot job employers to Peekskill that introduce professional, highly skilled employment opportunities? I guess he's saying white-collar jobs is what it sounds like. Technology jobs.
thank you. That's what I thought the question was. Peekskill has a director of economic development. We pay him over $100,000 a year. We are the centerpiece for Northern Westchester's economy with the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce. They have their offices right here in Peekskill, and they stretch out not only through Northern Westchester, but into Putnam County. We have a good working relationship with the business community. Many members of the Rotary Club belong to the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce. We have to look at the atmosphere at City Hall that welcomes businesses in, and we haven't had that, unfortunately, over the past several years. We have entertained applications from a number of people. Some of them, we are on the verge of announcing a major initiative in the movie and television and production industry. We have many businesses in town that are connected to the media, but we cannot make that announcement yet. But this is going to be a major initiative to Peekskill that could even lead to the construction of a studio down on Lower South Street on city-owned property. So we are in the middle of working on something like that. Very big, very excited about it. And hopefully the people behind that will hear this tape and come out and make their announcement soon, because we put a lot of time into it and a lot of energy. But in deference to them, I can't really disclose the facts on that. But in any way, it takes an open door, needs somebody to answer the phone. We don't say it has to be this commercial or that commercial. Any commercial that wants to come in here, we meet with them and listen to their plan to see if it can fit.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, 30
I
seconds.
agree with that. Any commercial we can get in is good for us because commercial pays our taxes. Like it or not, people and residential don't as well. The truth is, we pay taxes because we have people. But that said, Look, we wouldn't be attracting businesses right now if it wasn't for the revitalization of the center of Peekskill, where again, we have renovated over 10 buildings. We have the expansion of the White Plains Linen. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is a very specific and even maybe edgy question, depending on your point of view. And Mr. Catalini, you will answer first. Again, this was submitted by somebody who lives in Peekskill. In recent years, the litter and graffiti problem has grown worse in Peekskill. Hefty fines have proven ineffective. Graffiti has also defaced many of our street signs, buildings, and even trees in our parks. How do you plan to combat these problems? Mr. Catalina.
Well, it's like with all these quality of life type of crimes or offenses, just increase policing. You know, it's better deployment of our police department, but it's also people that if you see something, say something, even to the point of litter. There's some people that are private citizens that have an email chain that I belong to, some of them West Side Neighborhood Association. If they see something, they get out and say something. There's a woman in Highland Park that has almost 100 people on her email chain. If she walks her dog down on Peekskill Landing and she sees somebody not picking up their dog poop, she goes over and says something to them. She shames them into going back. So these are the kinds of things where we can't have a police officer on every corner, unfortunately. And if we see something, we should say something. And that's it starts from the bottom up. Government doesn't have all the answers on these.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Well, first, I'd like to establish a quality of life task force that's going to bring the community in. He's right, we need the community in. But as the mayor, your one vote is 7. Your job is to be the community leader. Your job is not to hope they come to the table. Your job is to bring them to the table. If we set up a task force that works with the NAACP, that works with the neighborhood associations, that works with the churches, a couple of things are going to start happening. People are going to start investing in their neighborhoods. And this is critical. Any success we have, he's right about this, it starts with the citizens. And if the citizens help us out, and if we can improve education, and if we can get buy-in from the kids, we're going to cut some of this down. And if we improve recreation, and if we come up with community service for the older kids, a lot of this will be cut back. It isn't as simple as saying, well, people just have to do something. I, as mayor, have to take the lead. I, as mayor, have to talk to the community players and get them involved with a task force that's going to solve their problems, but also get them to help me out organizing the community so they take the vested interest that is in their best interest.
Thank you. Mr. Catalini, yes, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Task force on litter. It's a novel idea. You know, I remember President Clinton once said, he was talking to somebody, and it was one of those forums about government and how to govern. And he said, if you don't have an answer, form a task force. And that's kind of like, you know, the way you do it. But I'll stick with my answer, and I don't need a task force on litter. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Well, this was touched on before, and so we'll go back to it for a formal question, and that has to do with infrastructure. So, Mr. Martin, you will go first on this. There is a lot of underground aging infrastructure in Peekskill that needs to be upgraded. Where will the money come from to fix infrastructure? Mr. Martin.
You know, complicated question. I've already referred to the fact that we have an aging infrastructure. First, as a school teacher, I've learned what you do is you plan. You don't plan just for tomorrow. You plan for next month. You plan for next year. I finish up one school year, I'm already planning the next year. We need to make a 10-year plan. Not just wait for things to break and fix them. And by the way, anybody that's ever had the plumbing in their house fixed knows it costs you a lot more to call the plumber out in the middle of the night than to plan ahead and get it fixed ahead of time. Well, this is the way we've been doing it at times. We're waiting for things to break, we're fixing it, and the insanity of it is, it's sometimes under streets that we've already paved. We need to do this smart. We need to sit down with all of the professionals in City Hall and any professionals we can find in Peekskill and plan this. What's going on underneath our streets? Do we need to fix something? And what's the order? Now, how are we going to pay for it? It's going to have to be it's another reason for watching the planning, because as the years are coming up, certain bonds are coming free. Now, as those bonds come free, that frees up a certain amount of cash. We can then fill that space with bonds that fix our infrastructure. But as is the case with capital expenses, they are done through bonds.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina.
I've heard so much about this 10-point plan over the past couple of months. I don't know what the 10-year plan is. Is it a 10-year? And I'm glad Mr. Martin is going to get a chance to have a rebuttal, because what do you do over 10 years? I assume it means replace the over 100-year-old infrastructure system that we have. So I hope in that rebuttal he can tell us how many miles of water we have, how many miles of water line we have, how many miles of sewer lines we have. I know the answer. I'll see if he does. And what's the cost per mile to do that? If I'm proposing a 10-year plan to replace the water and sewer lines, the infrastructure, because it sounds good, I should know how many miles I'm going to replace. I should know what the cost is going to be. And then I should be able to tell you how I'm going to pay for it. Well, I can tell you the answer of how you pay for it. It's going to be B-O-N-D, bond, bond, bond. And we don't have that much in bonding out. We have $40 million in bonding, total bonding right now. And if I told you the cost to over a 10-year period to replace the water and sewer lines, if that's what the 10-year plan is, you will fall off your seats. But I'm glad he has the rebuttal. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Oh, I'm glad that you're going to catch me on the number of miles. I apologize, folks, I don't have it. But what I can tell you, I've spoken to professionals who've told me there are ways to test the water lines. There are ways to check out the sewer lines. And so we don't have to replace all of them, ladies and gentlemen. We have to replace the ones that are bad. And the truth is after we replace a lot of these water lines, we are losing a significant amount of cash to just water seeping underground. And it's creating damage to our roads. So it's making our roads worse. I mean, I was down on Lincoln Terrace, and I could look through the road, and there was an empty space.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. The next question is, actually, speaking of what this questioner refers to as empty spaces, code enforcement, and Mr. Catalina will go first. And this is a
I just went first last time.
No. Oh, no, I'm keeping very, very detailed notes here. Right?
Just seeing if you're paying attention, Bruce. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, code enforcement. And again, this is how this person phrased the question. There are a number of derelict residential buildings in Peekskill. Some of these are uninhabited and are health and safety hazards. Others are inhabited rental properties owned by absentee landlords, where the tenants have to contend with unsafe conditions such as rotten wood, stairs without handrails, piles of trash, overcrowding, unsanitary conditions, and in at least one case, which I think we heard from the Common Council debate, raccoons living in a hole in the porch ceiling. How do you plan on addressing this issue, which is not just the raccoons, obviously, it's all of the above? Mr. Catalina.
Well, in my years as a city prosecutor, deputy corporation counsel, and corporation counsel, we did have a task force on that. And what we did is we integrated the police, the fire, sanitation, and building department. So when the sanitation guys go out and they find 15 garbage cans on a single-family home, they just made a note of it and passed it on to the building department. When the fire department or the ambulance corps made a call and they saw sheets separating rooms, they made a note of it. And we had all of our departments integrated. That task force was disbanded by some of the people running for council seats. You might want to ask them. But to have a true enforcement, you have to have true integration. And that's what I would do. I wouldn't form a task force because we know how to do this. We would integrate all of our departments again and reinstate the same kind of integration that we had before. Also, I would rehire the building inspectors that we lost in the previous administration due to mismanagement of our city finances.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
As I understand it, That's been on the table since last year. I watched all the budget meetings, folks, and here's what I saw. There was a heavy insistence by a number of the people on the board to get someone hired to do something about code enforcement. And I have heard them come back over and over again asking for where that is. So, Mr. Catalina, on your watch, this guy hasn't been hired. And according to the budget analysis, it's a revenue neutral position. It doesn't cost us anything because we'll make enough money off of the fines to pay for it. That is the facts. And the other fact is revenue from code enforcement in the last year is down in a huge way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina, 30 seconds.
Well, Mr. Martin, in case you haven't noticed, I am a weak mayor. I'm only 1 vote out of 7. And your side has the majority votes. And if they wanted to do, no proposal was brought to straight up vote, should we add 2 building inspectors back or even 1 building inspector back? Because I would have voted in favor of that. But unfortunately, I don't have a majority. So I can't bring in those people. I'm only a weak mayor. I'm a part-time guy. The city manager runs the city.
Which brings us to a question that was asked at the Common Council debate. I'm sorry. What? That was his rebuttal.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm keeping detailed notes.
Be culpa.
So the question that was asked at the Common Council debate, and now I'm going to rephrase it for the mayoral candidates. The question then was, to the Common Council candidates, was, are you in favor of a city manager government? But I think the appropriate question here that you will answer first, Mr. Martin, is how do you see the mayor's role in a city manager government? You know, how do you view that, and what do you think about a mayor's role in a form of government that Peekskill has, which is a full-time city manager?
I'm the leader of a team. And the first team I'm the leader of, if I get elected, is the city council. And my job is to work with that city council, come up with a coherent set of instructions, and trust and give those instructions to our city manager, but at the same time, trust the city manager's professional judgment. If we've hired someone we trust, we have to give him latitude to run the city. At the same time, you need to respect the person you're working with and make sure that we keep them around. One of my concerns is exactly what was expressed before. And maybe we need to revisit how the city manager government is designed, in the sense that we lose them too often. I win this year, someone could argue I'm going to force the new guy out. Then 2 years from now, somebody else wins, we have somebody else in. We don't have any continuity. It takes probably a year just to learn everything that goes on in Peekskill. We do need to find a way to encourage these people to stay on longer. And it starts with making them feel good about being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually agree with Mr. Martin in the fact that I'm in favor of a city manager, weak mayor form of government. And I agree with him that you have to work, you're the team leader, and you have to work as a team. Before I took office, 1 month before I took office, I saw a letter published. I actually wanted Vivian McKenzie to be my deputy mayor, and I went public with that. But there was a letter published in the Patch, and I have a copy of it if anybody wants to see it, where the so-called majority dictated to me that they weren't going to work with me, that they were the majority, and things were going to go exactly the way they wanted it to go, because I was only 1 vote out of 7. And it broke my heart to know that I was going to go in there, despite the will of the people. I didn't even take office. And that was published in the Patch. And you go and look at it. And I hear so much talk about respect and bullying at City Hall, when they didn't hear any debate for 6 years. Joe Shooter, Patsy Riley, they were on the council. And they disagreed with the mayor, and they're off the council before this current crew is on. There was no dissension. There was no debate. There was no democracy on that board when it was all controlled by Mary Foster. And that's the fact of the matter.
Thank you.
I can only assume...
Excuse me, I'm not done. I still had 30 seconds. I was
Okay, no,
looking
I
for
thought
my
you-
place.
Oh, sure, no problem.
With respect to the city manager, for someone to come here and say it takes a year to get acclimated, that's absolutely wrong. That's why we have qualifications in our charter for city manager. Educational requirements and 3 years experience that the prior city manager didn't have. That's why it took him a year to get acclimated. But as somebody that gets acclimated, somebody that has the experience, doesn't need a year. You maybe need a month. We're 3 square miles, folks. Doesn't take a year to get around town and find out what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin.
I'm going to make 2 comments. One, judging by the laughter I saw back there, there was something a little bit inaccurate about what you said, but since I wasn't there, I'm not going to comment on that. Second thing, are you saying that turnover of the city manager is okay? Because really, it's not good for the city. We need to have talented professionals that come here and stay here. And by the way, if we keep turning them over, nobody with any talent is ever going to come.
Was that 1 minute, 30 seconds? It was for you? Oh,
That was my rebuttal. 30 seconds.
okay, you're... No? Okay. As long as you're both happy, I'm happy. Okay. Not according to this? Okay, whatever. Frank, did you answer that question first?
No, I answered first.
Yeah.
Okay, all
That
right.
was my rebuttal.
Okay. Well, I'm fallible, okay.
Want Larry to do this?
Okay. One thing we didn't get into at all in the Common Council debate, which is really important, it's very important to me, I can tell you that, as somebody who thinks he's an actor, and that's the arts. That's the arts scene in Peekskill. And there's a lot of different aspects to this. So this maybe is a little bit of a mashup question, either that or it needs to be 2 questions. But one question that is down here is, how important is the Paramount to the downtown economy, and let's do this one first. That's a separate question. How important is the Paramount to the downtown economy, and what should the city's relationship with it be? So, Frank, yes.
Oh, we own the Paramount. And it's vital to the downtown. When it was dark under the previous administration for 9 months, we saw how vital it really was. We take it for granted sometimes. It's so easy to say this should be done or that should be done, but when we had dedicated volunteers of both parties working there for 24 years or so, we saw how vital it was when it wasn't lit up for 9 months. Now that it's up and on its feet again and bringing in quality acts, we can see that it's thriving, and that's good. I think it's very important for the city to have a good relationship with the Paramount. However, I also think the taxpayers who have invested over $32 million in that building since 1976 deserve a return on their money. And I don't think that less than $1,000 a month in income over the past year is a fair return to the city of Peekskill on that investment. I'm sorry, I don't. I think they have a sweetheart lease deal with a lot of loopholes. Instead of booking acts, they rent out the space, and the city gets 0 on a rental versus our percentage on the bookings. And if I'm reelected, I will close the loopholes in that lease to make sure the taxpayers start to see a fair return on their investment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin.
The Paramount's not only critical for the money it can bring to the city if we can make it function in a better way. It is critical because it brings business to all of our restaurants and hopefully to the retail we want to bring to the city. But just trying to tighten the lease to get more money may not be the answer entirely unless we decide to understand that we have to promote it and help promote it. Like I've said before, I think communication to some degree in Peekskill needs to be improved. You know, I had a conversation with the gentleman in charge of Paramount, and I suggested to him, why don't you have a Latino night? Latino movies, Spanish movies. There is no place that Spanish-speaking individuals can go see a movie on the big screen in Spanish. He said, we did. I can't tell you how many Latinos I've spoken to who said, never heard about it. So one of the things we need to do is sit down with the Paramount and help promote what's going on there, because it's beneficial for all of us. If they make more money, we make more money from them, even with a tighter lease. But if they make more money, so do all the businesses downtown. And that, of course, is always what we want.
Thank you.
Actually, I think, I get my rebuttal, right?
Yes.
Actually, I think movie night is one of those loopholes, but, I don't think the city has any role in promoting any individual business, notwithstanding the fact that we own that building. They do a pretty good job advertising. I was down in Tarrytown one night. I saw their advertisement. They advertise heavily to compete with the Tarrytown Theater. I go to White Plains every day, and I saw their advertisements in Starbucks. They're doing a pretty good job getting the word out, and they're getting a good job. They're doing a pretty good job in filling up that venue.
Okay, thank you. So now I want to do part two of this question, which relates to the arts, because that question was about the Paramount, which is one building and one organization. But there's two other related questions here, and thank God for the iPhone, I'll tell you. Makes it very easy. People sent these in even today. So one part of the second arts question is, the city has gone to great lengths to promote arts in the city. Has there been a tangible benefit? And then the other element that somebody else asked is that, would you support the creation of a space where some of the other arts and community organizations, smaller, independent, edgy, can have a home, a shared space where they can have a home, using grant money and sponsorships from developers and things like that, because the Paramount isn't affordable to those organizations. So there's a tie-in to the other question. Mr. Martin?
I went first last time, didn't I? I had the rebuttal.
Okay, Mr. Catalina. I'm easy.
Part of my three-point plan when I ran 2 years ago was to create the Artist Depot. And that was to provide a city-owned building strictly for artist use, where each artist could come in and have their own kiosk and display their works, and turn it over to the Peekskill Arts Alliance, a fine group, to run it and manage it and be fair with the space and allocate the time. I've not been able to do that. The city does not have a building, period, that we can give you. I ran for almost 8 months before I won the election, and one of the things I cried about was that the city of Peekskill was the largest landowner in the city of Peekskill, and that was wrong. I thought it was wrong, and the city should sell their properties. Well, the prior administration listened to me, and they had an auction in December of the year. I don't think in the month or two before I took office, they had an auction, and they sold most of the city-owned properties. And I'm not going to say that they should have given a building to the artist, because for that Artist Depot, because I don't know offhand what buildings were available or if anyone was suitable. But right now, we don't have a building suitable to donate, and in fact, we don't have a large inventory of properties, although we have an in-rem list going out to court to try to acquire back tax properties now. So if we do get a suitable building, that's one of my pledges, one of my three-point plans, and it's important, I think, to create an Artist Depot.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
The comeback of Peekskill began with the artists. We are a destination, and when I go down to the city and I talk to people, what do they mention about Peekskill? The artists. But for us to promote Peekskill as a destination, that artwork has to be seen. We get to see it once or twice a year, and we need to find a way to display it. Yes, if we could get a building and help them out, that would be terrific. But if we can't, we need to look at other options. For example, maybe one option is to look at some of the open storefronts that are there right now and work with the businesses to see if they'd collaborate to have a roving art display. But whatever we do, the artists are key to creating more of a destination. Look, Peekskill has beautiful natural views. Peekskill has a great history. Peekskill is starting to develop a restaurant community. But to finish the piece, we need to get that art displayed one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebuttal.
30 seconds, yes.
The Artist District was created under Mayor Fran Gibbs. I was the city attorney I was the deputy city attorney at the time. We helped draft that legislation. It was the most forward-thinking thing, the most forward-thinking concept, I think, in the history of the city. They are a small part of our community, but they are important. I liken it to a rudder on a ship, on a great ship. And they've given the city an identity, and they're a vital organization and should be a vital part of the community and should be supported with a building.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, you'll be first, if my notes are correct, which I'm beginning to doubt myself. And actually, this is a very serious question. Is there a drug problem in Peekskill, and what would you do if you believe that to change it? Mr. Martin?
I think there probably is. The truth is, from everything I've been told by the kids and from everything I've been told by the adults, there's a problem here. And they've even mentioned to us some of the things we need to work on. Look, between 14 and 25 in Peekskill, as good as recreation is for the younger kids, it's not for the older kids. And so we are not providing for them. We are not providing jobs. We are not providing job training. We are not providing community service, and the recreation is falling short. If we're going to help out the drug problem, we have to reach our youth, and we have to keep their lives productive. Very simple to me.
Thank you. Mr. Kathleen?
Sorry, I was trying to get a water. Do we have a drug problem in Peekskill, and how would I address it?
Yes.
We have a drug problem no greater or no less than any other city our size or community our size. The recent heroin epidemic resulted in tragic deaths of young people, but none in Peekskill. Cortland, Yorktown, I think even Bedford had one, but I'm not saying that we have a lesser problem than they do, but it's a problem. It's an epidemic in our society. And I'm not a sociologist, but there's 100 reasons, most of them not addressable at the city level. But certainly it begins at home. I firmly believe that if you want to have a child, and I have 3, you should be watching over them and taking care of them. And I know Mr. Martin has children. He has a fine family. I have a wonderful family. I'm sure he has a wonderful family. It begins at home. And unfortunately, it ends in the courtroom. And that's where I go every day. And somewhere in the middle should be the church and school. And that's where we address those problems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I do agree that the church and other organizations need to help us reach our youth and keep them out of trouble. They're going to make mistakes, but we're going to need to help them out. They're going to fall down. We need to be there for them. And not just the city, but bringing all of the players to the table and help them out. Again, I agree with him. Bring the churches in. Bring the NAACP in. Bring the school in. We all have to work together to fix this problem.
Thank you. Another topic that did not come up in the Common Council debate is energy. This question reads, where do you stand on reducing dependence on fossil fuel and carbon emissions, as well as controlling the cost of electricity in public buildings where solar power can be used? And this example was included. The fairly new middle school on Ringgold Street does not appear to have solar panels and is lit quite brightly at most hours of the day and night. So it's about renewable energy, alternative sources of energy. Mr. Catalina?
I think Dr. Fine should answer the question about the middle school. But as far as the city of Peekskill, in a very forward-thinking maneuver under Mayor Bianco, when the resource recovery plant came in, negotiated a deal that the city of Peekskill received, I think it's 10 or 12% off our energy bills because they burn and they sell some of the heat and energy to Con Ed, which the steam that they sell. So that was one way that the city of Peekskill locally has lower utility bills as a direct result of his efforts. As far as reducing that, we are a green city for any new construction that goes on. We don't have the money to just renovate everything and put everything to solar power or wind power, but any new construction under state guidelines and state contracts are renewable. So we are, as we renovate, as we replace, we go to higher tech and energy. So that's my answer.
Okay.
I'm not an expert in the field.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Yes, more efficient windows, more efficient doors. Construction has to be more green. I would like to see, as we bring in the new residential developments, if we could encourage them to install some type of green energy. I find it fascinating, as I was on top of one of the, up on 901 at one point, looking down and seeing how many flat roofs we have in Peekskill. It would be lovely to find a way to encourage them. And I know there are cooperatives and collaborative efforts that we can get involved in to bring green energy in. I am frightened by the fact that we are looking at switching more to natural gas. And I'm frightened, this is an issue that goes well beyond here. Ladies and gentlemen, to open up a bigger pipeline on the edge of the city not only is dangerous to the city, but encourages fracking. Fracking is bad for the environment, bad for the people who live there, and I know I shouldn't go out on this limb, and it has no place in this debate, but I consider it one of the most dangerous decisions being made by society today.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina, 30 seconds.
If he's saying that one of the most dangerous decisions was the pipeline, I definitely agree with him, and I'll stand with him on that. I don't think that pipeline should be in any way expanded. And other than that, I'll stand on my initial answer.
Okay.
Give the people a break.
Right. Mr. Martin, of course, you now will go first. I think this question will sound familiar. What is your position on charter schools and why?
I'm a school teacher. The evidence on charter schools does not support that they do really any better than public schools. And the truth is, in a city like Peekskill, it's not really an option. We don't have a large enough tax base to support two separate school systems right now. And were we to implement a charter school in Peekskill, it would rip the guts out of all of the school system. We can't afford it. Would I love for some corporation, I know someone asked me on the Bazo report, well, if a corporation came in and was willing to feed millions of dollars into Peekskill, I'm never going to turn down millions of dollars into Peekskill. But I don't see that happening. So I don't see a charter school in Peekskill because I don't see the taxpayers affording it, and I don't see the school system surviving it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina.
I initially came out in favor of the proposal to build to establish the Guardian Charter School. I'm not a teacher and I'm not an expert in education, and I sat down with Dr. Lacopoli, Colin Smith, and members of the Board of Education, President Doug Lickard at the time, and it was when I learned that the city school district of Peekskill would lose between 10 and almost 15% of its budget the first year. On an $85 or $88 million budget, that would devastate our city. And so I looked into it a little more clearly as to why our charter schools get such a great rap or reputation. And I think the empirical data, I disagree with Mr. Martin, I think the empirical data is that charter schools are a great thing and children do perform well. And I started to look into it more deeply and found that the schools that are cited with all these great stories are 100%, all of them, every single one of them were funded by endowments. Apple, Dell Computers, Microsoft, IBM, to the tune of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. And in New York City, there are many charter schools that do well. Mr. Martin himself teaches in an almost charter school. There's only 300 students, and I understand about 25 teachers at the school that he teaches in. So anything that you can do to lower class sizes and get rid of a lot of the red tape is a good thing. It does not work in Peekskill. I am in favor of charter schools as a concept, but not in Peekskill.
Thank you.
I do not work in anything resembling a charter school. I work in a public school. Simple, that's all there is to it. But next time, could you do your homework before you send a letter to the state on mayor letterhead asking for them to support a charter school?
Fair point. Yes, I will next time.
Okay. So in the last debate to Common Council, I had what I called the bonus round question, which was, if there's one thing you could change about Peekskill, what would it be? And after their very nice answers, I'm not going there again. But I don't step in it twice. But there's a similar bonus round question for both of you gentlemen. And if I'm correct, Mr. Catalina will go first. And I'm going to waive the rebuttal, which you'll understand when I ask you the question. There's no rebuttal for this question. Years from now, how would you like to be remembered, your legacy?
Just a minute and a half?
Yeah. I didn't waive that part of it, Frank. Just wait, you know something? Let's just do something really wild and crazy. You could each have 2 minutes. What the heck?
At the end of my day, my legacy, I would like to be known as a great father. Number 2, Ben Hirsch was my hero. I would like to be known as a great lawyer, that I did good with my law degree, that I was fair, and that I practice ethically and with integrity. That's my legacy. And number 3, that I saw some wrongs in my city and I tried to correct them. When I took office, it's almost the tale of two cities, if you pardon the analogy. In 2013, we had 6 straight years of deficits over $3 million a year. The lowest being 1.2 million, the highest being 4.7 million in 1 year. That average deficit of $3 million a year has been cut to 1.5 last year, and this year is going to be $600,000 in that ballpark. That is an amazing feat, and I did it as a minority member on a council dominated by the other party. Morale was at an all-time low. 32 positions were eliminated. 22 people had their lives destroyed by being let go. Today, this mayor is endorsed by virtually every employee of the city of Peekskill. Teamsters Local 456, the Peekskill Police Association, the Westchester Putnam Central Labor Board, the umbrella organization that includes the fire and teachers in our city. Although they have not made a specific endorsement, their umbrella group has. Because the umbrella group knows what's going on because the local people tell them what's going on. I've been endorsed by the Northern Westchester Examiner for remarkable achievements, Metro North Railroad, sheet metal workers. This city lost the Peekskill celebration. This city lost the Italian festival. Developers were turned away. Target was turned away. The people that are so pro-growth today, I wish they would show up for the council meetings. Target was turned away. Ask Mr. Ginsburg why he didn't develop the Abbey 8 years ago. And he'll tell you. He was shut out of the city by that administration. The local waterfront redevelopment plan was passed under Mayor Testa just before the Foster administration took office. Ginsburg Development Corporation paid $2 million of the engineering fees for that. He was the designated in that plan as the preferred developer, and yet he was banished from the city. I'm not a great mayor. I didn't just wave my wand and say, like some candidates, I think we should start with commercial and build to residential. It doesn't happen that way. You have to reach out to these people. And I didn't have to reach hard. They already own the property, and they came back. How are you going to treat me? Are you going to treat me fairly? Not, are you going to let me walk all over your zoning code? Are you going to let me walk all over your environmental code? No. Are you going to be fair to me? Yes, Mr. Ginsburg, I'm going to be fair to you. Yes, Mr. Carney, I'm going to be fair to you. Yes, Mr. Valiotis, on the Alma project that was touted in the previous administration. They never came to the city with a plan. and they all have plans pending before the city today. And that's not because I'm a great mayor, it's because development was shut out in the previous administration.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, 2 minutes. How you'd like to be remembered?
I'd like to. The problem is he laid out a lot of things I have issues with. Like, for example, Alma has been in front of the city countless times and has been given everything they've ever asked for. Ginsburg wasn't thrown out of the city. The economy collapsed in 2007 and no one in their right mind was building. But what do I want to be remembered as? I want to be remembered as somebody who changed people's lives. I've spent 30 years changing children's lives. I live by that. I stand by that. You elect me in Peekskill. What I want to be remembered for, first and foremost, I want to be remembered for bringing the people of Peekskill together. The communities are not united right now. Recreation is not united right now. That is the first and most important thing I want people to remember me for. And I'd love to believe that before we're done, we'll have a waterfront that we can all be remembered for, the whole city. A waterfront where we have businesses across Railroad with some residential on top and a parking garage behind it. A waterfront where we double back onto Water Street with residential development and parking underneath the highway. And this is all very possible. The truth is, we have a gem in Peekskill. But I also want to remember for this one thing. There's a reason my team is not named Team Martin. It is named positively Peekskill. Because the truth is, if I can bring together Peekskill and nobody remembers my name, I'm just fine. But I want to be part of a team. I want to be part of a community. I want to bring together the community behind me. I want to bring those community players in place and step out of the way and let them do it.
Thank you. And now, although it seems like we just had the closing statements, we will have the closing statements. Starting with Mr. Catalina, again, you each do have 2 minutes for the closing statements.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for hosting this. And I want to thank everyone for being here, notwithstanding the fact that the World Series is on. And I want to thank Mr. Martin for being here. And I want to thank the other candidates for participating tonight. We have a pretty incredible record, I think. And I just want to address one thing that Mr. Martin said. You know, I thought he said earlier in response to another question that the mayor had to be the team leader and had to be the leader of his team. And then now somehow he mocks Team Catalina because he doesn't want to be the team leader. But in any event, I would ask people to call Steve Valiotis, and I'll post his phone number on our website tomorrow, and ask him why Alma never formally made a proposal to the city. I'll post Mr. Ginsburg's number tomorrow, and you call him and you ask him why he never made a formal proposal to the city. And I'll post Mr. Carney's number tomorrow, and you ask him why he never made a proposal on his Main Street project. I sat on the bid for 2 years. We did a proposal. We went to the Common Council and literally begged the Foster administration and Councilwoman Talbot. I don't think Councilwoman McKenzie was on the board at the time. We begged them to change the zone to allow residential uses in the downtown. There was a study, we did the study at the bid, we proposed it, and it sat there and we were ignored. They did not want development in the downtown. Mr. Carney himself indicated when we changed that this year, that was a big legislative victory for my administration as a minority party to get that through. Mr. Carney himself said he would, but for that change in the code, he would not be building that beautiful project that's going to be right across the street from the Barham House. They're not pro-growth. They will do everything they can to stop growth. I asked Mr. Martin, of the 6 major developments that I brought here, name one that you're in favor of.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I hate to waste my closing statement on response to this, but ladies and gentlemen, quickly, yes, I like the Alma project. Always have, was there when it was first proposed. I like the Ginsburg project. Love it. Good luck to the guy. He has to build all the infrastructure up there, and that's probably one of the reasons it's a bit hesitant. Okay? There are a lot of projects in the city. I love the Diamond Project over at Crystal Bay. But you know what? I won't have the developer come into my office, sit down, close the door, and work out a deal, which is what he said he was doing when he had the interview with us on the TV the other day. So, look, I believe in open government. I believe in working with my team. Yes, if a developer comes to me, I'm going to do everything I can to promote the construction. But I'm also going to make sure the team is sitting there when I do the project. I'm going to make sure the community is involved. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say again, I love Peekskill, and I want to see Peekskill working as a community. As the leader of Peekskill, he said it before, I only have one vote. I have to bring more to the table. I have to reach out to the community and get them involved. I have to get my team to work together. And if I can't do that, I'm no good to anybody. I have to make sure that City Hall and the workers there work with us, and that our talented professionals want to stay with us and feel that they are appreciated. And these are things I can bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to... I also want to thank... It's cut. I want to thank our timekeeper, Leslie Lawler of Peekskill Community Network. She did a great job. Thanks, Ken.